Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. This story is about, what if Naruto never lost his parents? Be sure to like, subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't done so already. I wish you a pleasant time while listening, so let's jump straight into it. The Good and the Bad. Chapter 1. A long time ago, there was a beast known as the nine-tailed fox. It was said that it could level mountains and separate oceans by a swish of its tail. Once it went on a rampage in the village known as Konohagakure no Sato. It was stopped by the village leader, also the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Few minutes ago. In a cave. Welcome to our family, Naruto-kun, Minato said. Minato Namikaze was also known as the Yellow Flash and was feared by most of the shinobi. He was a tall man about 6 feet with his spiky yellow hair and 2 bangs either side. Picturing his face. He had sapphire-colored blue eyes and was in his normal suit, a navy type of blue shirt and pant with the Uzumaki symbol embedded on the back of his shirt, since Minato didn't have a clan. He looks just like you, Minato-kun. It was Minato's wife Kushina Uzumaki. Kushina Uzumaki was also known as Konoha's Red Death, as she was a legendary master of the Way of the Swords and can fight all the 7 swordsmen of the mist at the same time. She was the ANBU commander going by codename Fox. She was an average height woman about 5 foot 6 feet with her long red hair symbolizing her as a member of the Uzumaki clan, where all members had red hair and purple hue-colored eyes. She was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails and managed to keep it at bay while giving birth, since the seal on her stomach weakens at childbirth. Maybe he'll be a ladies' man like me? Minato thought loudly. Then I'll have to protect him from fangirls, Kushina said, chuckling. Here, let me handle him, Minato-sama. It was the third Hokage's, Hiruzen Sarutobi's wife, Biwako Sarutobi said. Yes, you should get some rest, Minato and Kushina-sensei. This time it was Rin Noara from Minato's Genin team during the Third Shinobi World War. Minato and Kushina both nodded. They were now thinking how many friends Naruto would make. Soon they heard 2 clangs from where Rin and Biwako went with Naruto. Step away from the Jinchuriki or this child gets it, the masked man said when he suddenly appeared in front of them. Alright, now everyone stays calm, Minato said. I'm already calm. It's you who is panicking, the masked man said. Minato took his signature 3-pronged kunai and shot it at the man while shooting one next to Kushina. Hiration level 2, Minato whispered and flashed 2. The masked man took Naruto and flashed back next to Kushina in an instant. Minato noticed the explosive note underneath the cloth Naruto was wrapped in and took out the cloth and flashed it away from sight. Damn it. I underestimated him. He foiled my plans. No matter, the masked man thought while flaring his Sharingan eyes into an unknown Mangekyo form with 4 red spots, looking like small stars in a diamond form with a black background, and teleported to Kushina and released the seal and put her in his what looked like his spacetime ninjutsu. Author's note: it is how Obito's mask looks like during the 4th Great Shinobi War. Kushina, damn it, I have to get her back somehow. But a Sharingan, no, it can't be. Is it, Madara Uchiha? Minato thought. Now in the pocket dimension of the masked man, Kushina was keeping the Nine Tails at near bay by stressing herself. In a few minutes she wouldn't be able to hold longer. Suddenly from behind the masked man, Biwako and Rin came running, shooting kunai and shuriken at him. Today, Konoha shall fall, the masked man said before he flashed away. I won't let you, Minato said, still holding Naruto. Sensei. Rin exclaimed, thank God you're okay. Rin, now is not the time. Take Naruto and go to Kakashi and Obito, Minato said, and Rin nodded while taking Naruto and Sunshine away. Biwako-sama, Minato said, getting her attention, inform the third to get ANBU and evacuate the village as fast as possible. There isn't much time. Biwako nodded and Sunshined away. Minato Hirashined away home. He took his Jonin vest and his Hokage cloak. "I'll be right back." Naruto and Minato whispered to himself before flashing away to the Hokage monument. At an unknown place outside of Konoha, Kushina was tied to two big rocks with chains and she saw the masked man and asked, "Why are you doing this?" Kushina asked with the masked man scoffing slightly. "I'm under no obligation to answer you that, so I won't, but I will give you a hint. I wish to bring world peace," the masked man said with his Sharingan eyes looking at her. "This is not peace. How can you think this is peace? Destroying the world is not peace," Kushina said angrily. "I don't care if you think this is peace or not because I know this is peace. Now release the nine tails," the masked man said while putting Kushina in a ninjutsu. "Madara, you dare try to control me again," the Nine Tails said. "Nine Tails, you need to calm down because you need to obey your master," Koto Amatsukami, the masked man said, putting the Nine Tails under a genjutsu. On the Hokage mountain, Minato flashed to his stone face and saw the Nine Tails terrorizing the village. "I don't know who you are, but for now the only person I'm thinking who can control the Nine Tails under genjutsu is Madara Uchiha," Minato thought. "Lord Fourth," a gruff voice called out. Minato looked back and saw the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, known as the god of shinobi, and the professor wearing his black battle suit with his summoning transformed into a gigantic staff. "Ah, Lord Third, have the citizens evacuated?" Minato asked. "Yes, Minato, they are all in the hidden bunker. The citizens and the shinobi all are there," Hiruzen said. "Thank you, Lord Third." As you can see, the Nine Tails was released and under control by a masked man. "My wife was kidnapped as well, I have to go save her," Minato said while making hand signs. He placed his palm on the ground and called out, summoning jutsu, and in a poof a red frog with a blue haori and a sword appeared. "Gamabunta-sama, will you buy some time with Lord Third so I have enough time to save my wife?" Minato asked, and Gamabunta nodded. "Of course, Minato." Minato nodded before flashing away to his Hiration formula on his wife. Gamabunta let Hiruzen jump on his back and said, "Come on Third Dano, let's deal with this mutt." The third chuckled before replying, "Right you are, Gamabunta Dano." In an unknown place near Konoha, Minato arrived next to his wife and asked, "Kushina, are you alright?" "I'm okay, Minato, just a little stressed, due to my Uzumaki longevity. I can live after the Nine Tails is extracted, but it messes up my chakra control," Kushina said, panting while Minato nodded. "Come on, we got to save the village," Minato said before he was attacked by kunai. Minato flashed Kushina away before he turned to the place where he was brutally attacked. "Who are you?" Minato asked. "I go by many names, but you can call me Tobi," the masked man said. "You're not going anywhere, Minato. Konoha shall fall," the masked man said. "Not when I'm here," Minato said before he ran towards him while throwing a three-pronged kunai when the masked man dodged it while giving him a slight haircut as he ran towards him. Suddenly, when both of them almost collided, when the masked man thought he was the victor, seeing he will punch first, Minato flashed where his kunai is and conjured a big ball of dense chakra and shot it in his back while calling out, "Rinnegan." As soon as his hand hit after the Rinnegan dispelled, he drew out black drawings and called out, "Uzumaki style, contract banning seal," with Uzumaki style, genjutsu dispelling seal, and the Nine Tails realized what he was doing and stopped his rampaging and ran outside of the village and sat waiting for the person who freed him. While Gamabunta and Hiruzen grew confused as to why he stopped rampaging and withdrew their forces to see if the fox will do anything. Back to Minato and the masked man. If anyone saw behind the masked man's mask, they would have seen he was not angry but furious. "Damn it! I underestimated him again," the masked man thought before saying, "I underestimated you twice. I guess this wasn't the correct time to attack Konoha." Believe me, when the time comes you will all fall, and then swirled away to his pocket dimensions. Minato flashed away and met with Hiruzen. In Konoha. Both Gamabunta and Hiruzen were contemplating whether to attack the Nine Tails or observe it. They decided to choose the latter and waited for Minato come back. Once they saw the yellow flash, Hiruzen asked Lord Fourth what happened. Minato answered, I was fighting a masked man who put the Nine Tails under a genjutsu. Seeing the Nine Tails sitting at the entrance makes us want to think that he wants a truce. He finished, and Hiruzen nodded to the answer and said, let's ask him what he wants. Minato nodded. Minato reached the entrance of Konoha and said, hi. The Nine Tails gave Minato a tail and let Minato pet it. After a while, he said, were you the one who released me from Madara's genjutsu? Minato sighed and then answered, yes. I did free you from the masked man, or Madara as you call him, and put a contract seal on him so he can't summon you and but a genjutsu dispelling seal so you can take control once again. The Nine Tails looked at him trying to sense any lie, but he didn't, and got some respect since he had just been saved from that man. He then bowed and said, I thank you for saving me from Madara. He spoke the word Madara with venom in his voice. I don't think I could get sealed in Kushina once again since she will die. Can you seal me in your son? I am willing to share him my power since I find potential in the little kit. Minato was shocked and sad at the same time since he knew he couldn't seal the fox in Kushina, but the fox had asked him to seal it in his son and give him his power because he has potential. He took 2 minutes to think over before he replied, I'll have to talk it over with Kushina-chan. The Nine Tails replied, okay, but you have to do it in an hour since you can't have a Nine Tails running around. Minato nodded since he understood and asked something unexpected, do you have a name? The Nine Tails was shocked. Nobody in the entire world had asked him for his name. His respect for the man grew. He smiled and said, Kurama. My name is Kurama. Minato smiled and said, well Kurama, I think you would make a good friend for Naruto. Kurama chuckled and said, he might be a great kid one day and maybe surpass you. Minato nodded as an agreement. Hiruzen came forward and said, well, looks like you made amends with the I mean Kurama. Yes, we did, Minato said happily, and they both hirishined away to Kushina. In Konoha's hospital. Wait. Kushina exclaimed. Kushina-chan listen. Minato started. No, Minato you listen, I will not let my Sochi carry the burden. Databane. Kushina shouted. Flashback no jutsu wish. Minato arrived with Hiruzen in the hospital. They saw Rin and Biwako taking care of Kushina. She was unconscious due to the stress her body had taken. She had woken a few minutes ago because she had a nightmare Minato had died. Sensei, Rin started, Kakashi and Obito came by 10 minutes ago. They talked to us as to willing to know what happened. I didn't let them know too much and that they should go to the evacuation bunker. Minato nodded and turned to Kushina. Kushina-chan, how are you feeling? Minato spoke up. Minato. Oh, thank God. I thought I had lost you. Kushina exclaimed while crying. Minato came to her and hugged her while rubbing her back like a little child. Shoo, everything's going to be okay. It was a nightmare, Kushina-chan. You know I would not die easily, Minato said. I know, a nightmare is never easy, you know. Kushina said. A few seconds later they finally realized they weren't alone in the room and Minato spoke up. Rin-chan, Biwako-sama, could you give me and Kushina some alone time? Hiruzen, you can call of the alert, bring everybody back to their homes and answer the council. On my behalf in the morning, do not tell them what happened. Biwako and Rin understood what they were going through, so they nodded and left them alone. Hiruzen nodded as well and called his ANBU and all of them shined away. Minato went back to consoling Kushina. After Minato finished consoling Kushina, Minato finally told everything he and Kurama had. After a few minutes she spoke up. So, the 9, I mean Kurama is a he and went on a rampage because he was controlled? Minato nodded. He wants to get sealed so he will never harm anyone. Minato nodded again. And he wants to get sealed in my SOC my Sochi. Kushina finally understood everything what Minato said. Minato nodded but looked down and sheepishly rubbed the back of his head. End flashback. Kushina, please listen, Naruto is the only baby and an Uzumaki baby to say the least. His chakra coils underdeveloped. If we put Kurama in any other child, he will die because of lacking stamina which an Uzumaki baby has. Even if we did get one, as a Hokage I would not use somebody else's child for the sake of the village. And as a parent I believe that Naruto will control Kurama's power because he is our son. Minato explained to Kushina, who finally understood and calmed down and spoke. Fine. But I still am a little against this. Minato sighed inwardly since he finally convinced her. Of course he didn't want to seal Kurama in his own son, but he also can't have Nine Tails running around near the village waiting to get captured and rampage in the village again. Kushina spoke again. But I'm coming with you since I was the one who taught you seals. Minato nodded. Indeed she had taught her. He finally went to Naruto and said, okay my Sochi. I know you will hate me in the future but I want it to be for the good of the village. Naruto giggled and cooed like he loved his father more than anything. Minato sighed seeing his happy face, but he picked him and Kushina up and Hiroshined to the entrance where Kurama was sitting. Entrance of Konoha. Kurama was sitting under a tree, large tree enough for his head to bury in, and having small talks with Gamabunta as he sat there. You know? You aren't that bad of a fox, Gamabunta said while Kurama was scoffing. Of course, I am not, I am the Nine Tails. The strongest tailed beast, Kurama said arrogantly. We should have a drink sometime. Probably some Mount Myaboku fire blazing sake? Gamabunta said, getting Kurama's attention. Kurama smirked and said, I'd like that. And with that Kurama and Gamabunta saw a yellow flash. When the flash dissipated, they saw Minato with Kushina and Naruto. Minato spoke up, Kurama my wife agreed to the sealing. We'll get started right away. Kurama nodded then turned to Kushina and spoke. You're probably wondering why I haven't talked to you while I was in your seal. Kushina nodded and waited for him to continue, reason being your predecessor. Mito Uzumaki, or your great-grandmother you can call it, thought I was still under that man's control, so she created a seal which made it that she or you can never talk to me thinking I was under that man's influence influencing you. I know it's confusing but please understand. Kushina nodded and then smiled as she said, at least this time your seal will help you communicate with my Sochi, and for the time being your chakra will be converted to his chakra, filling his capacity and increasing it since he will know how to control huge amounts of chakra. Kurama nodded, understanding her reason. After that Minato called Kushina and gave Naruto to her and started making hand signs, board dog bird monkey ram, and slammed his palm on the ground saying Uzumaki, summoning style, sealing altar. After saying those words an altar appeared with sealing equipment neatly placed on the sides. In the middle is an empty place with a white cushion. Kushina placed Naruto in the middle and took the sealing supplies and created a complex-looking seal and made a same one on Kurama's paw. Then she made the bird boar dog, hair dragon snake, hand signs and placed her palm on Naruto's stomach calling out Uzumaki style, 8 trigrams bijou seal. Then she saw Kurama's power get sucked into Naruto. Hopefully both of you are fine, she whispered before she fainted. Before she fell Minato came beside her and Naruto and spoke. We all had a rough night, let's go home. Gamabunta-sama you can dispel now. With that Gamabunta went back to MT Myaboku and Minato, Kushina and Naruto flashed back home and everyone went to sleep for the night. In Naruto's mindscape. Kurama, after being released from a seal, mind-fucked by a red-eyed man, and back into another seal, he was sleeping until he heard a voice which piqued his interest. Kurama-kun, it's been a while, hasn't it? The man had a gruff voice but a pleasant one at the same time which spoke of years and years of wisdom. "Old man?" Kurama asked quietly. "It seems you haven't forgotten about me, have you?" the man asked, chuckling slightly. "Of course, I won't forget you, after all you gave me my name," Kurama said happily. The man started walking towards him, and in the light, the man had pale skin, wearing a white cloak with 6 magatama on his collar in the front and 9 magatama with a circle on top of the cloak on the back. He had purple-colored eyes with ripple patterns in both of them, with the same swirl but red on his forehead. He had spiky brown hair and 9 black orbs surrounding him. He had a staff with a ring holding 6 more rings. He was none other than Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the sage of the 6 paths. He was the founder of Ninshu, the ninja creed. His teachings wanted to give people a better understanding of themselves, but then was created as a weapon of war, also known as ninjutsu nowadays. "It's good you decided to stay with the boy," he said, which grew into confusion for Kurama. What do you mean? Old man, is it something you're not telling me?" Kurama asked. "Time will come and the answers will be revealed, don't hurry things as it will cause conflict," the old sage said. "I understand, old man, but why are you here? It's definitely not just to tell me that, is it?" Kurama said, while Hagoromo started chuckling, then said, "You catch on too quick, Kurama-kun, I'm simply here to give this child some of my chakra." Kurama was shocked. The only time he will give power is when someone is reincarnated as. "I see, so it's his chakra that's clung to him, isn't it, old man?" Kurama said, while the old sage again started chuckling and replied, "Indeed, it is, Kurama-kun. Now I must go, since the Shinigami doesn't like latecomers. I hope I see you again someday." With that, the old sage faded away from the mindscape. Kurama chuckled and said, "I hope we do, old man," and with that Kurama fell asleep. Next morning. Council room. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage, was sitting on one side of a large table, while the Shinobi Council were sitting on one side, while the Civilian Council sit on the other side. The Shinobi Council started with the Aburame clan head, Shibi Aburame, followed by the Akimichi clan head, Choza Akimichi, then Hyuga clan head, Hayashi Hyuga, with the Inazuka clan, Tsum Inazuka, then comes the Nara clan head, Shikaku Nara, head of the Intelligence Division and Jonin commander, with the Namikaze clan head, Minato Namikaze, but due to his absence the council excused him. Then comes the Sarutobi clan head, Biwako Sarutobi, since she took the place after Sarutobi becoming Hokage. Then comes the Senju clan head, but due to the Senju clan destroyed in the 3rd Shinobi World War and Tsunade Senju, the legendary Sannin left the village because of her losses and hasn't come back, making her a non-active shinobi. Next comes the Uchiha clan head, Obito Uchiha, as he had been promoted due to his work in the 3rd Great Shinobi War at Kanobi Bridge and lost his Sharingan being slashed in the eye by a rogue stone shinobi, but proved to be one of the strongest shinobi even with one Sharingan. He was promoted by Mikoto Uchiha, the clan heiress, as clan head and head of the Uchiha Police Force Department, since she didn't find herself to be worthy. And the last person of the Shinobi Council was the Yamanaka clan head, Inoichi Yamanaka, head of the Torture and Interrogation Department. The Civilian Council consisted of a yellow-haired woman by the name of Sayuri Haruno, head of the hospital, then a fat merchant by the name of Shibira Kyukoji, head of Clothes and Entertainment Department, followed by a weapons merchant, Tenshi Higurashi, head of Weapons Trading Department, and finally the head of the Food Department, Tuchi Ichiraku. There were 3 seats for the elders, which were Hamura Mitokado, Koharu Yutatane and Danzo Shimura. They all were from Hiruzen Sarutobi's teammate. All of them came and settled down. Then Hayashi spoke up. "Hokage-sama, what was the reason for the evacuation last night?" The others in the room also nodded, seeing they wanted answers. Hiruzen started. "Last night Lord Fourth was attacked by a masked man claiming to be Madara Uchiha indirectly. Everybody in the council were shocked, including the emotionless Danzo and the stoic Shibi. Soon, Shikaku spoke up. Hokage-sama, the last part you said was that he claimed to be Madara Uchiha indirectly. Could you please elaborate as to what do you mean by that? The other members nodded. As the realization dawned on them as soon as Shikaku finished, Lord Fourth and his wife Kushina Uzumaki were having a baby in one of our sealing chambers to keep her vitals steady because of the seals on her. Most of you might not know, but she was the second container of the Nine Tails, while Mito Uzumaki being the first. The Shinobi Council knew that Kushina was a Jinchuriki but did not know Mito Uzumaki, the first Hokage's wife, was the first Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. While, the Civilian Council, only a few being Tuchi Ichiraku and Tenchi Higurashi knew about Kushina's status, while the other two members were shocked, scared and angry. The elders knew about the first and the fourth's wife being the Jinchurikis, but got confused as the third said was the Jinchuriki. They were thinking, what did he mean, until Shikaku voiced their thoughts. Hokage-sama, you said was, are you saying there is a new Jinchuriki? The Hokage gave a stoic smile and spoke. Right on the dot, Shikaku-san, indeed there is a new Jinchuriki, but we kept the identity a secret since we don't want it to be public. The council nodded except for the two civilian council members. Sayuri then shouted, Hokage-sama, we demand to know the demon so that we can kill Hi-. She stopped when she was blasted by a sudden wave of killer intent from all the people excluding Shibira. Indeed, he was thinking on the same line, but he thought that there were so many powerful shinobi the Nine Tails didn't have a chance, so he calmed down. Hiruzen then spoke, Sayuri Haruno. I am the Hokage here. I know what's better for the village. If you do not cooperate, you will be removed from the council. Am I clear? She nodded. I hereby declare the Jinchuriki should not be called a demon and never mention it to the future generation. To prevent it, I hereby give an alibi that the Nine Tails was killed by Lord Fourth. Council dismissed. With that, Sayuri then fell unconscious because of the heavy killing intent, and she was then taken to the hospital. Hiruzen saw everybody leaving and then he sighed, I'm too old for this shit. Minato, take your place tomorrow again, he thought before he left the council. 1 year later. Namikaze's household. The day was usual as any family. Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, was sitting on the table eating his usual toast with butter and coffee, while Kushina Uzumaki, his wife, was taking care of their son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruto was laying in the crib giggling and cooing like mad, ready to get out of the crib if his mother left. That's what exactly happened. Kushina went to get Naruto more milk as his breakfast from the kitchen, and when she came back, the thing she saw shocked her the most. Naruto had blue vapor on his lower half and hanging upside down on the ceiling. Before she looked on top, she thought her Sochi was kidnapped and screamed loudly. Ah! Kushina screamed. Minato came running to Naruto's room and asked her before looking at the crib. Kushina-chan, what hap-? Minato suddenly stopped, seeing the crib was empty. Then they heard giggling from the ceiling, which made them stop and surprised. Minato and Kushina's eyes were as large as dinner plates. Nobody ever had unlocked their chakra and had enough control to climb a wall at 1 year old. They thought to teach him chakra control at 5, but apparently Kurama had already matured his chakra coils. They themselves climbed on the ceiling and picked up Naruto, then they looked at each other like they have seen a ghost. Minato? Kushina whispered. Yeah, I know, somehow Naruto managed to unlock his chakra, but how? Minato asked. Maybe because of Kurama, his chakra coils have matured? Kushina thought out loudly, while Minato giving a as it was the only reason. We could ask a Hyuga to check his chakra, Minato said, while Kushina nodded and went to call her Hyuga friend, Hitomi Hyuga, wife of Hayashi Hyuga. Hyuga Compound. The Hyuga Compound were one of the largest compounds besides the Uchiha and Senju. There lived the main and the branch family. Hayashi Hyuga, the current clan head, was doing his paperwork until he heard a knock on the door. He quickly gave a grunt, asking the person outside to come in. The person who came in was Hitomi Hyuga, his wife, carrying their daughter Hinata Hyuga. She was 8 months old and was born 2 months after the Ninetales incident. Hayashi-kun? Hitomi asked worriedly. Yes, Hitomi-chan. Hayashi replied, seeing the worries in her eyes. The only thing he hated to see was his wife worrying about something and did not like it. I wasn't feeling very well, so I had gone to the hospital and they said I have a rare cancer in my eyes and they can't do anything about it, Hitomi said, starting to get teary. Hayashi was shocked. To think his wife had a bloodline cancer, he was worried that he would lose her in a few years. He was thinking how to help his wife until he heard another knock on the door. This time he voiced, "Come in." One of Hayashi's bodyguards came in and spoke. Hayashi-sama, Hitomi-sama, Uzumaki-sama needs your assistance and is waiting at the front gate. Hayashi and Hitomi were confused. What could Kushina possibly want right now? Then Hitomi spoke. Bring her in, Ko-san. Ko nodded and went to the front gate. A minute later Kushina came in and spoke. Hayashi-dano, Hitomi-chan, I am in need of your dijitsu. Both of them were surprised. This was the first she asked them for their bloodline. If she needed it urgently, that means something is wrong. After all, the Hyuga needed to pay back a lot of debts they owed to Kushina. Hayashi then spoke. I will be coming since my wife just informed me, she has a bloodline cancer dash. What? Kushina shouted. Kushina then turned to Hitomi and asked. Were you going to tell me this? Hitomi nodded and said, I was going to tell you this when I was going to arrive tomorrow, but it seems that you came to me. Kushina thought and then replied, I think Tsunade-bachan might be able to help you. She has done bloodline cancer before. Hitomi was surprised, no one ever said that she could make it through the cancer. She then spoke words with a tone which signified hope. Really? Kushina nodded and then Hayashi then spoke. I thank you for helping my wife Uzumaki-dano, but the Hyuga clan still has to pay its debts. Kushina then chuckled and spoke. I don't care about the debts, I just like to help. But this time I'm asking help because I want to check how matured my son's chakra coils are. At this the Hyuga couple got confused. Why do you want to see Naruto-chan's chakra coils? Besides, chakra coils don't develop until they become 3 years old, Hitomi said, while Kushina just chuckled and spoke. You see, today my son, a 1-year-old baby, was able to climb a wall with chakra. At this Hayashi and Hitomi looked at Kushina with disbelief when Hayashi said. How is that possible? Number 1-year-old should nearly even have enough chakra to climb walls, and even if he had, how does he have chakra coils which is capable of doing such an exercise? Kushina sighed and said seriously, Hyuga-dano, Hitomi-chan, whatever I say must never leave this room. The Hyuga couple nodded, understanding the situation. The only time had Kushina ever used that tone was when it was very important, like SS rank secrets important. Kushina created 3 shadow clones and each of them went to a corner of the room and all of them applied a privacy seal surrounding them. The clones dispelled and Kushina started talking. Do you guys remember at the council meeting as to why the Jinchuriki wasn't revealed? Hayashi nodded as he had been there. It was because of an order my husband had passed. Both of them grew confused as to why Lord Fourth do this. It is because my son is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Now both of them were shocked. To come to think of it, they did find strange markings on his stomach the day the couple went to their house. Now it was confirmed those strange markings was a seal. I see, Hayashi started, so the reason why you asked for our dijitsu is to see if the Ninetales had matured Naruto-kun's chakra levels. Kushina nodded. Okay then. Hitomi, why don't you go and take some rest while I go to the Namikaze household? Hitomi nodded and left both of them and headed to her room. Before we go, Hayashi started again, I have to inform my brother to take care of the compound while I'm gone. Then Hayashi walked out and went to Hisashi's room, Hayashi's twin brother. He knocked and heard a, come in, from the other side. He opened the door and saw his twin brother in all his glory wearing a black kimono with a white haori and the leaf headband on his forehead. Hayashi then spoke. Hisashi-nizen, how is Niji? Hisashi then spoke. He's doing great, just put him to sleep not too long ago. Hayashi nodded and spoke again. I have to take care of some business outside the compound, can you take care of the compound until I get back? Hisashi nodded. Hisashi was happy to have Hayashi as a brother. Hayashi used to share his power as clan head with him whenever he is busy, even though he is branded by the caged bird seal he is still grateful that his brother is willing to share his power instead of being arrogant. Hayashi then left the room and said to Kushina. Let's go. Kushina nodded and both of them shined to the Namikaze house. At the Namikaze house. After Minato put Naruto to sleep, he went to his study and took out a brown book to read and was reading since it was his sensei's first book and the only book which is not perverted. It was the weekend and Hiruzen Sarutobi had allowed to take the pain of paperwork so Minato can spend some time with his family. After the Naruto incident he was thinking of the reasons it happened and to calm himself down he took his one and only favorite book, The Tales of a Gutsy Ninja, from where he had taken the name Naruto from. Then he heard a familiar voice. I see you still like that book. It was a man standing on his window. He wore a red and green kimono with wooden sandals and a headband with two horns on the sides and the kanji oil written in the middle. He was a man who was 6 feet 3 inches tall and with a good body structure. His face had strange red marks and white spiky hair that went all the way down to his waist. He had an enormous scroll strapped to his back. 1 year later. Namikaze household. The day was usual as any family. Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, was sitting on the table eating his usual toast with butter and coffee while Kushina Uzumaki, his wife, was taking care of their son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruto was laying in the crib giggling and cooing like mad, ready to get out of the crib if his mother left. That's what exactly happened. Kushina went to get Naruto more milk as his breakfast from the kitchen, and when she came back the thing she saw shocked her the most. Naruto had blue vapor on his lower half and hanging upside down on the ceiling. Before she looked on top, she thought her Sochi was kidnapped and screamed loudly. Ah! Kushina screamed. Minato came running to Naruto's room and asked her before looking at the crib. Kushina-chan, what hap dash? Minato suddenly stopped, seeing the crib was empty. Then they heard giggling from the ceiling which made them stop and surprised. Minato and Kushina's eyes were as large as dinner plates. Nobody ever had unlocked their chakra and had enough control to climb a wall at 1 year old. They thought to teach him chakra control at 5, but apparently Kurama had already matured his chakra coils. They themselves climbed on the ceiling and picked up Naruto. Then they looked at each other like they have seen a ghost. Minato? Kushina whispered. Yeah, I know, somehow Naruto managed to unlock his chakra, but how? Minato asked. Maybe because of Kurama, his chakra coils have matured? Kushina thought out loudly while Minato giving a as it was the only reason. We could ask a Hyuga to check his chakra, Minato said while Kushina nodded and went to call her Hyuga friend, Hitomi Hyuga, wife of Hayashi Hyuga. Hyuga compound. The Hyuga compound were one of the largest compounds besides the Uchiha and Senju. There lived the main and the branch family. Hayashi Hyuga, the current clan head, was doing his paperwork until he heard a knock on the door. He quickly gave a grunt, asking the person outside to come in. The person who came in was Hitomi Hyuga, his wife, carrying their daughter Hinata Hyuga. She was 8 months old and was born 2 months after the Ninetales incident. Hayashi-kun? Hitomi asked worriedly. Yes, Hitomi-chan. Hayashi replied, seeing the worries in her eyes. The only thing he hated to see was his wife worrying about something and did not like it. I wasn't feeling very well, so I had gone to the hospital and they said I have a rare cancer in my eyes and they can't do anything about it, Hitomi said, starting to get teary. Hayashi was shocked. To think his wife had a bloodline cancer, he was worried that he would lose her in a few years. He was thinking how to help his wife until he heard another knock on the door. This time he voiced, "Come in." Ko, one of Hayashi's bodyguards, came in and spoke. "Hayashi-sama, Hitomi-sama, Uzumaki-sama needs your assistance and is waiting at the front gate." Hayashi and Hitomi were confused. What could Kushina possibly want right now? Then Hitomi spoke. "Bring her in, Ko-san." Ko nodded and went to the front gate. A minute later Kushina came in and spoke. "Hayashi-dano, Hitomi-chan, I am in need of your dijitsu." Both of them were surprised. This was the first she asked them for their bloodline. If she needed it urgently, that means something is wrong. After all, the Hyuga needed to pay back a lot of debts they owed to Kushina. Hayashi then spoke. "I will be coming since my wife just informed me, she has a bloodline cancer dash." "What?" Kushina shouted. Kushina then turned to Hitomi and asked. "Were you going to tell me this?" Hitomi nodded and said, "I was going to tell you this when I was going to arrive tomorrow, but it seems that you came to me." Kushina thought and then replied, "I think Tsunade-bachan might be able to help you. She has done bloodline cancer before." Hitomi was surprised. No one ever said that she could make it through the cancer. She then spoke words with a tone which signified hope. "Really?" Kushina nodded and then Hayashi then spoke. "I thank you for helping my wife Uzumaki-dano, but the Hyuga clan still has to pay its debts." Kushina then chuckled and spoke. "I don't care about the debts, I just like to help. But this time I'm asking help because I want to check how matured my son's chakra coils are." At this the Hyuga couple got confused. "Why do you want to see Naruto-chan's chakra coils? Besides, chakra coils don't develop until they become 3 years old," Hitomi said, while Kushina just chuckled and spoke. "You see, today my son, a 1-year-old baby, was able to climb a wall with chakra." At this Hayashi and Hitomi looked at Kushina with disbelief when Hayashi said, "How is that possible? Number 1-year-old should nearly even have enough chakra to climb walls, and even if he had, how does he have chakra coils which is capable of doing such an exercise?" Kushina sighed and said seriously, "Hyuga-dano, Hitomi-chan, whatever I say must never leave this room." The Hyuga couple nodded, understanding the situation. The only time had Kushina ever used that tone was when it was very important, like SS rank secrets important. Kushina created 3 shadow clones and each of them went to a corner of the room and all of them applied a privacy seal surrounding them. The clones dispelled and Kushina started talking. "Do you guys remember at the council meeting as to why the Jinchuriki wasn't revealed?" Hayashi nodded as he had been there. "It was because of an order my husband had passed." Both of them grew confused as to why Lord Fourth do this. "It is because my son is the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails." Now both of them were shocked. To come to think of it, they did find strange markings on his stomach the day the couple went to their house. Now it was confirmed those strange markings was a seal. "I see," Hayashi started, "so the reason why you asked for our dijitsu is to see if the 9 tails had matured Naruto-kun's chakra levels." Kushina nodded. "Okay then. Hitomi, why don't you go and take some rest while I go to the Namikaze household?" Hitomi nodded and left both of them and headed to her room. "Before we go," Hayashi started again, "I have to inform my brother to take care of the compound while I'm gone." Then Hayashi walked out and went to Hizashi's room, Hayashi's twin brother. He knocked and heard a "come in" from the other side. He opened the door and saw his twin brother in all his glory, wearing a black kimono with a white haori and the leaf headband on his forehead. Hayashi then spoke. "Hizashi-nizen, how is Niji?" Hizashi then spoke. "He's doing great, just put him to sleep not too long ago." Hayashi nodded and spoke again. "I have to take care of some business outside the compound. Can you take care of the compound until I get back?" Hizashi nodded. Hisashi was happy to have Hayashi as a brother. Hayashi used to share his power as clan head with him whenever he is busy, even though he is branded by the caged bird seal he is still grateful that his brother is willing to share his power instead of being arrogant. Hayashi then left the room and said to Kushina, "Let's go." Kushina nodded and both of them shined to the Namikaze house. At the Namikaze house, after Minato put Naruto to sleep, he went to his study and took out a brown book to read and was reading since it was his sensei's first book and the only book which is not perverted. It was the weekend and Hiruzen Sarutobi had allowed to take the pain of paperwork so Minato can spend some time with his family. After the Naruto incident he was thinking of the reasons it happened and to calm himself down he took his one and only favorite book, The Tales of a Gutsy Ninja, from where he had taken the name Naruto from. Then he heard a familiar voice. "I see you still like that book." It was a man standing on his window. He wore a red and green kimono with wooden sandals and a headband with two horns on the sides and the kanji oil written in the middle. He was a man who was 6 feet 3 inches tall and with a good body structure. His face had strange red marks and white spiky hair that went all the way down to his waist. He had an enormous scroll strapped to his back. "What? How is this possible?" Hayashi said, startling the others. "What is it, Hyugadano?" Minato asked. "He doesn't have chakra coils at all, but how?" They all got widened looks after that. "What does it mean?" Jiraiya asked. "His chakra is already mid-genin level and he has perfect chakra control. He can conjure many genjutsus and will be the most powerful genjutsus even if it's a D-rank genjutsu. He has the ability to make it an A rank without any stress. This is incredible," Hayashi said while his parents' eyes are bulging out ready to pop out. "He is going to be the world's most unpredictable ninja. Maybe even stronger than me," Minato thought while feeling proud that his son has perfect chakra control. "Thank you, Hayashidano. We are grateful for your help. You can take your leave now," Kushina said with Hayashi nodding and leaving. "Damn, he's a powerful gaki. One day he will be as powerful as his father," Jiraiya said while the Namikaze couple nodded. "Let's put him to sleep now," Kushina said. They all went to take Naruto off the wall and put him in his crib waiting for him to sleep. After Naruto slept they all went to the living room and Jiraiya spoke. "I think I'll take my leave now. Need to report my spy network to Sarutobi-sensei." Minato and Kushina nodded and Jiraiya left in a shunshin. "Do you think we should start his training at 5 instead of when he's at the academy?" Kushina said while gave a as an agreement before both of them kissed each other. With that they left with Kushina cooking ramen for dinner while Minato back to reading his favorite book. 2 years later. Naruto just turned 4 a week ago and he started crawling when he was 5 months old, talking when he was 1.5 years old with small words like ramen, mama and daddy, and rest he used gesture to what he wants. The surprising thing was he rarely used to cry. Only when he had a nightmare or he was alone. Otherwise he was a strong, healthy boy. He started walking when he was 2. He became very fluent in Japanese, reading and writing when he was 3 and was very smart for his age. Most people who came to meet him either called him a prodigy or a genius. The people who came to meet him the most were Hayashi Hyuga, Hitomi Hyuga, Obito Uchiha, Mikoto Uchiha, Rin, Kakashi, Jiraiya, the third and the other clan heads. He had just learned his first jutsu, met his tenant and got his Dojutsu 3 months ago. Flashback. No, just a wish. 3 months ago. Naruto was running throughout the house because his parents were not there. Minato had gone to that Hokage office, since he had to attend a council meeting while Kushina had gone with him as the Uzumaki clan head. They left Naruto babysit by Kakashi, who was reading a very particular orange book, and was giggling madly. He was too focused in his book. He didn't know Naruto had gone down in the basement where the family library was and Naruto opened it because of the chakra seal on the basement door. Naruto turned on the lights and saw 12 different bookshelves named Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, Fuinjutsu, Juinjutsu, History, Reincarnation Ninjutsu, Spacetime Ninjutsu, Shurikenjutsu, Kenjutsu, Chakra Control Exercises and Barrier Ninjutsu. All books were labeled all the way from E rank to SS rank techniques. In the far corner of the room was a glass-encased cabinet with a chakra seal on it, and there was a humongous scroll below the cabinet. There was a sign saying, "The Scroll of Seals." Naruto activated the chakra seal and took the scroll from the glass cabinet. He opened it and read through the techniques, which were multi-shadow clone jutsu, shadow kunai clones, illusion style, bringer of darkness, reanimation jutsu, rinnegan, Hiration, wood style, true several thousand hands, wood style, wood clone jutsu, wood style, nativity of a world of trees, multiple exploding notes and the Reaper death seal. He read through the first jutsu, the multi-shadow clone jutsu, which could be used for infiltration and espionage tactics since the memory and muscle memory of the clone comes back to the user. He read the instructions of the jutsu and started practicing it. A few minutes later he managed to create 10 clones and he started to faint. Before he went to the world of unconsciousness, he saw Kakashi watching him and he was calling out, "Naruto," and he then fainted. Meanwhile, with Kakashi was reading his Makeout Paradise and knew that Naruto was in the house, so he didn't bother to care. 25 minutes later, he started walking to the bathroom and midway he saw the basement door slight open with the lights on. Oh god, he knew that place. That's the family library and Naruto just went in there. He ran through down to the basement and saw something only the Hokage would do. Naruto just created 10 shadow clones and all of them were dispelling and Naruto was fainting. He called out, "Naruto," but he already fainted due to chakra exhaustion. In Naruto's mindscape, Naruto woke up to find he was in a type of sewer and yellow light was shining very brightly. He heard a growl and he went towards the sound. As soon as he arrived, he saw a huge cage which was locked and had the kanji 4 seal in the middle. He then saw a big red-slitted eye open until he stood in front of a huge fox with 9 tails swaying back and forth. Then Naruto spoke. Who are you, Fox-san?" Kurama was laughing inwardly at the nickname. Kurama didn't show it, but inside he was a big softy. "I am the 9 tails, you brat. I am the most powerful tailed beast in the world," Kurama said arrogantly. Naruto wasn't frightened by the fox. He actually thought that the 9 tails was cool and was willing to be friends with the strongest of the tailed beast. He then spoke. "Oh my god, I am in front of the most powerful tailed beast. Sorry for calling you Fox-san, 9 tails. I think you are very cool." This time Kurama was surprised nobody had called him cool before. They would just normally measure him or control him for power. Never in his lifetime he was called cool. His respect for the kid as well as his ego grew. But he had a question in mind. Aren't you scared of me?" Kurama asked before Naruto said. "I mean, you are gigantic, but intimidating doesn't mean everything." Kurama nodded at the sense the kid just said and thought, "I have a smart host, like dad, like son, I guess." "So where am I?" Naruto asked and Kurama replied. "We're in your mindscape, kid." Naruto got confused at that. "How am I in my own mind?" Kurama, reading his thoughts, replied. "When you fell unconscious you were brought here in your mind." Naruto was surprised that the 9 tails read his mind. "I know you are thinking, how am I able to read your mind?" Naruto nodded. "The reason is because our minds got a telepathy link when I was sealed inside you." Naruto asked the most obvious question after Kurama mentioned sealed. "Wait. Sealed? So does that mean you are trapped here?" Kurama nodded. "How were you sealed inside?" "Me?" Kurama replied. "I was being controlled by a masked man and your father sealed me inside you. Don't blame him though, because I asked him to." Naruto understood why he wanted to be sealed so that nobody can control him, but the sudden confusion came and he asked. Why me though? Kurama understood what he meant and said. Your father couldn't ask anyone to let them seal me inside them. Another reason is that you are an Uzumaki, only Uzumakis can be my host because of the Uzumaki's longevity. Naruto understood and asked, why does my mind look like a sewer? Kurama chuckled at that but replied nonetheless. It's normal in everybody's mindscape, it's your choice to change it. Naruto nodded, then slammed both of his hands on each other and started concentrating. Suddenly, the mindscape changed into a grassland with a lake on the side and a huge sakura tree in the middle and a sun in the skies representing he was happy. Kurama had collar with a sealing tag with the kanji seal. Kurama was shocked that the kid understood how to change his mindscape. The only thing he could see in the other people's mindscape were either pure white or a sewer. Now he was grateful to Naruto that he got the feeling like he was in a meadow and out of the seal. He walked to Naruto and said, Thank you, Kit, you don't know how much this means to me. Naruto nodded and said, We are friends, aren't we? I just wanted to help a friend. Kurama smiled and said, You know? You are the second person to call me a friend? Naruto then asked, Who was the first one? Kurama chuckled and said, Your father. Naruto smiled at that and closed his eyes and thinking how much of a hero his father was. When he opened his eyes he could just see everything black and white. While Kurama was just staring at him with his eyes bulging out, he started thinking if Kurama thought he had grown a second head and asked, What's wrong? And why everything is black and white all of a sudden? Kurama got out of his stupor and pointed at the lake, indicating to go see for himself. Naruto went to the lake and saw his blue sapphire eyes were replaced by purple-colored eyes with ripple patterns. He then went to Kurama and asked, What happened to my eyes? Naruto was confused as to why his eyes changed and Kurama said, You have the rinnegan, the most powerful eye which only belonged to my father, the sage of the 6 paths. Naruto was surprised. He had read about the sage. The one who created Ninshu. He knew about this since his parents had the most ancient of books. But how was he associated with him? Kurama read his thoughts and answered. The sage has a weird ability. He can come and go from the world whenever he wants but has to get the Shinigami into an agreement. Naruto gasped at that. How could one escape death? He was broken out of his thoughts when Kurama continued. After I was sealed inside you I met the old man and he gave you some of his chakra. Hence, the eye you have now is his chakra mixed with yours. Naruto was still confused. Why was he chosen? Kurama watched his face go through emotions and knew what he was thinking. He answered. To be honest, I don't know either. Kurama lied. Naruto still was confused but kept this at the back of his mind and was thinking how to get back to the real world. Kurama read his thoughts and said, No need to worry, just think that you want to get back to the real world and you will be back in the world. Naruto nodded and started concentrating. Kurama saw Naruto vanish from the mindscape and he went to sleep under the sakura tree. Outside the mindscape, Naruto. Kakashi shouted when he saw Naruto fainting. He ran to him and picked him up. Kakashi looked near the glass cabinet and saw the scroll of seals unrolled and on the multiple shadow clones jutsu, and he picked the scroll up, put it back in the cabinet still holding Naruto. He realized he was one of the worst babysitters to let a child sneak of in a clan library, and not any clan library but the Hokage's clan library where the scroll of seals was kept. He had just disappointed his sensei. He took Naruto, locked the library and went upstairs where he laid Naruto praying he wasn't dead. Suddenly, Naruto opened his eyes and what Kakashi saw shocked him to the core. He saw a pair of rinnegan staring at him, where both had 9 tomo. He didn't even know what the Dojutsu it was. He was about to tell Naruto until Naruto spoke. Kaka and I. He whispered. Kakashi then jumped and hugged him. He was so grateful that his perverse antics didn't bite him back, but he promised himself never to read Make Out Paradise while babysitting. Of Naruto. They both heard the front door open and close with a "We're home" from the Namikaze couple. When they came they were shocked as well. How did Naruto have a Dojutsu? And what Dojutsu is it? They were going to ask the question until Naruto ran to them and hugged both of them, then spoke. "Ka-chan, Tu-san, welcome back. I'm happy to see you," the couple replied. "We're happy to see you" to Naruto-kun. Why I can see yellow and green flames near Tu-san with blue and brown near Ka-chan." Minato and Kushina were both surprised. Their son just guessed their elemental affinities by color. They were going to ask how did he get the Dojutsu, but what they saw next made their eyes widen. Naruto made a cross-hand sign and yelled, "Multiple Shadow Clone Jutsu." Out came 2 clones, but after a while he fell down while the other clones dispelling. Kushina became impatient and said, "Naruto, where did you learn that jutsu and what happened right now?" Naruto was excited to tell his parents what he did. He started. "I went to the basement when Kaka and I wasn't looking." At that Kushina glared at Kakashi, who was looking down, rubbing his head sheepishly. "I found a glass cabinet with something called the Scroll of Seals. I learnt the first jutsu in the scroll, which was the multiple shadow clone jutsu, and I created 10 shadow clones before fainting. I woke up in a sewer, which was my mindscape, and I met Kurama and he told me Tu-san sealed him into me and my eyes. I was sad that Tu-san chose me, but when Kurama and explained how the situation was, I understood, and I forgive you, Tu-san." Then he told me about my eyes. He said that the sage of the 6 paths came and gave his chakra to me. I don't know why, though. Even Kurama and doesn't. Minato and Kushina were both surprised that Naruto met Kurama and learnt an A-rank forbidden jutsu which used a lot of chakra. They also thought why the Sage of 6 Paths gave him the rinnegan, since they had heard stories from Jiraiya about another boy having the same eyes. They could ask him about the details of its power. Naruto also saw Kurama and they became friends. They were even more surprised when he forgave Minato. Minato could not be any more happy because it was a blessing that Naruto was so kind-hearted even after the burden he bore on him. Naruto saw that his parents were glaring at Kakashi while he was speaking. He then spoke. "Ka-chan, Tu-san, it wasn't Kaka and I's fault. My curiosity got the better of me and I went with it." Kakashi was surprised that Naruto stood up for him even though he was reading Make Out Paradise. Minato and Kushina looked at each other before they said, "Okay, we'll forgive Kakashi this time." Naruto nodded, but Kushina asked, "Naruto, you still haven't answered my question. What happened after you made the shadow clones and how did they dispel so suddenly?" Naruto thought about it then spoke. "Ka-chan, I can't explain it properly, but when I created my shadow clones, I could see through their eyes. Me and my clones felt dizzy and both of them dispelled." Minato and Kushina just realized the power of the rinnegan and their eyes widened. They just realized that the clones with the rinnegan are the best for espionage and infiltration. One could create a spy network with only clones and the rinnegan. They realized they had to keep this a secret. If word got out, people would try and kidnap him. After a while, Minato spoke seriously. "Naruto, no matter what, never show the rinnegan to anyone, unless they are your best friends and trust them completely. I declare your rinnegan to be SS rank secret. Punishable by death if your friends ever told anyone." Naruto nodded. His father would never be this serious unless it was something very, very important. And he had just had his rinnegan be declared SS rank secret. After a while he started to worry and asked, Tu-san? Will my eyesight be like this?" Naruto had forgot to ask Kurama, "Is the eyesight permanent or not?" After a few seconds Minato spoke up. "Naruto-kun, try cutting chakra from your eyes." Naruto did as he was told since he was a chakra-controlling natural, and once he opened his eyes everything was back to normal. And he had his blue sapphire eyes back. "Naruto, you know your Kyofu means godfather, Jiraiya?" his father asked. Naruto nodded. He had only seen his Kyofu once or twice, but he knew him very well since nobody, except for his surrogate brother Kakashi, had white hair and was a pervert. Anytime he would come, he would stay for a week then leave. Nonetheless, he broke out of his thoughts once he heard his father continue. "He has met another person who had the same eyes as you. He can help you train once you start your training at 5. Naruto thought. Then nodded. "Wait. Kushina started, that pervert is teaching my Sochi." She then ran to Naruto and hugged him like she was protecting him from something, then said, "I am not letting that pervert make my son one too." Minato only chuckled nervously before everyone calmed down and Kushina started again. "Now with that's over, who wants ramen?" Naruto then broke the hug, then started jumping up and down shouting, "Ramen! Ramen!" Everyone else started laughing at Naruto's antics and they all went to Ichiraku's. At Ichiraku's, the Ichiraku ramen was one of the most popular places since the 4th Hokage declared a proper reconstruction of the one small shop into a 2-story 5-star restaurant. The Ichirakus were grateful since the person who owned Ichiraku's, which was Tuchi Ichiraku, also got a place in the civilian council as the head of the food department. Tuchi was busy as usual making ramen when he heard the bell of the door opening ring. When he reached the counter he saw the Namikaze family with little Naruto on Minato's shoulders, with Kushina and Kakashi on either side of Minato. He called out to them. "Hey Minato, Kushina, Naruto, Kakashi, what can I get for you today?" Tuchi knew Naruto 2 months ago when he went to deliver ramen to the Namikaze family and Kakashi since he often used to come with Minato or Kushina. Naruto then spoke. "Can I get 5 large bowls of miso ramen Tuchi Ajizan?" The Namikaze family were amused as to where does the ramen go when he eats it since he's only 3 years old and too much nutrition for a child. They shrugged it off for now and Kushina spoke. 10 large bowls of miso Aji-san," she said as she used to eat that much amount as usual. 2 large bowls of vegetable ramen Tuchi-san, Minato said. "I'll have 1 large bowl of tonkatsu ramen with extra chashu," Kakashi said. "Coming right up. Please take a seat, I'll have Ayam-chan serve it," Tuchi replied when he heard everyone's orders. They all sat next to the counter where it said, "Reserved for Hokage's family and guests only," while everybody were looking at them. They all went back to eating and chatting. When Minato called them out, their ramen soon came and Ayam served it. They all dug in the ramen, finished it while talking about Naruto's training silently so only the family can hear. Once they finished, they paid the bill and walked out of the restaurant while hearing from Tuchi, "Come back again." Today was a hectic day and it was already night time. They got home and went to sleep. End flashback. Since that time Naruto has been telepathically talking with Kurama and having fun with him when his parents are not allowed. He only uses his shadow clones when he is doing chores and he most of the time slept, walk on his room walls, reading history books, playing with his surrogate grandfather, Hiruzen Sarutobi or Gigi as he calls him, or he played games with his mother since his father was very busy. The only time Minato used to play with him was on weekends. His Kyofu still hadn't come but he promised he will come for his 5th birthday. He hasn't received any information on his eyes but activates and deactivates his eyes so he can get used to it. 1 year later, Naruto just turned 5 and he was excited his parents were going to begin his training today. He woke up at 4:30 in the morning and freshened up. He ran through the moonlit hallway to his parents' room. Before he reached the room, he heard footsteps downstairs and went down to see his parents were awake. Once he reached downstairs he saw a masked man wearing umbu chest plate, cargo pants and a tanto strapped to his back. His mask had the kanji for root on it and the person said, a person wants to meet you. With that, Naruto was suspicious of the man since his parents told him not to go with anybody. But he was curious as to who wants him, so he asked, "Who wants me?" The man replied, "I can't answer you that. You have to come with me to see." Naruto created 5 shadow clones and asked one of them to call his parents. The other 4 went to the kitchen and took many sharp objects and went back to throw them at the man. The man saw this and said, "Make this easier and come with us so we don't have to hurt you." Naruto just shook his head and started punching and kicking him using all the sharp objects he got from the kitchen. The man pulled out a kunai and stabbed Naruto in the leg. Naruto was losing conscious by the minute when he heard "use it kit." Naruto activated his rinnegan and said, "Deva Path, Universal Pull," and pulled the Anbu-looking shinobi defying laws of gravity and said, "Human Path, Art of Soul." Absorbing, with that a huge structure came behind Naruto and its mouth was open to unimaginable sizes. Naruto's hand on the shinobi pulled out a human-looking figure, which is completely transparent, and fed it to the statue and the statue disappeared. He got a view of a person named Danzo with a cross scar on his chin and bandage on his right eye and his left arm in a cast with a cane on his right. The man he just absorbed the soul from was obeying to him and saw drawings on his tongue whenever Danzo held the tiger sign. He then realized that the organization was Root and was disbanded by his Gigi. The person he just killed was one of the Root captains, Fu Yamanaka, who was kidnapped at birth. He sat there for a while contemplating that he did the right thing. Then his parents ran down and saw the Root shinobi lying down with Naruto's rinnegan activated. Naruto started crying that he just killed an innocent man because he was controlled by a seal on his tongue and had just killed someone at the age of 5. His parents ran to his side and hugged him, saying soft things like he was all right and consoling them. Then Naruto asked, "Ka-chan, Tusan? Am I a monster?" Kushina then just looked at him with tears in her eyes and yelled, "No, don't ever say you are a monster, you just protected yourself." Naruto then said that shocked them. "But I just killed an innocent person." At that they were confused and Minato asked, "What do you mean he was innocent?" Naruto then explained, "You see, I read his mind and he was brainwashed by a person called Danzo and was his right-hand man." Minato then bombarded him with questions. "What makes you think he was brainwashed? How do you know Danzo? And how did you read his me dash?" Kushina interjected. Minato flinched when he found what he was doing. Naruto took a second before answering. "When I was stabbed in the leg with a kunai, I suddenly called out my name and I got some knowledge of my rinnegan." Then his parents were confused. "What do you mean stabbed in the leg? There is no cut," Kushina said when she realized the healing factor the Nine Tails gave. It was the one that rivaled against Tsunade's creation. Rebirth seal on her forehead. Naruto was emotionally blank for 3 seconds before he said, "I said it was his healing," and the couple understood and Naruto continued with his explanation till the sun reached the horizon. Then Minato said, "Okay, let's start with your training. Just because you killed a skilled shinobi, it was just by pure luck." Naruto understood what he meant. And with that they all went to the Hokage's private training ground. Chapter 5. At the Hokage's private training ground. After the Root Ninja incident, Minato sealed the Yamanaka's body in a scroll and will use it in today's council meeting. Right now Minato, Kushina and Naruto are at the Hokage's private training ground at 6 and waiting for Jiraiya to arrive. Naruto was still feeling bad about what happened in the morning while Minato and Kushina were furious as to why Danzo would kidnap their son, and they were about to find out during this week's council meeting. The council meeting happens every week to report the weekly missions and tradings happening in the village. Nothing too often used to happen in the meeting, but today's meeting was going to be exciting for Hiruzen, Jiraiya, Minato and Kushina since they finally have the chance to take out Danzo once and for all. Although they were sad about Naruto's first kill, they still get revenge on the old Warhawk. Before they thought anything else, Jiraiya appeared in a smoke of leaves and greeted the Namikaze family. "Good morning Minato, Kushina and Naruto. How was your morning?" Naruto looked down and tears were falling down from his eyes. Jiraiya saw that and asked the parents for explanation. Minato and Kushina explained to him what happened and how Naruto got his first kill. After hearing the explanation, Jiraiya was furious that Danzo would go so low for power, and he went to Naruto and bent on one knee and said, "Listen Naruto, I see you are still upset about the kill. But that's what a shinobi means." Naruto then looked at Jiraiya, tears slowing down from his eyes, and tilted his head in confusion. Jiraiya sighed and asked, "Naruto, what are your dreams for the future?" Naruto then thought about it. He didn't have a dream, but when he saw his father looking down at him, all his dreams finally opened to him. He then pumped his fist and said, "My dream is to be the Hokage like my dad and protect this village. Believe it." Jiraiya smiled at the enthusiasm his godson gave and said, "Then you have to get over the kill. Because a shinobi means to endure. Protect the ones who are precious to him." Naruto understood and felt slight better, but Jiraiya continued, and what he said gave Naruto confidence in himself. "You want to be Hokage, right?" Naruto nodded. "Then to be Hokage is the one who walks ahead of everyone and endures the pain of others. If the person was controlled, he might be thankful to you for freeing him, you never know." Minato and Kushina looked at the godfather and godson couple and were smiling. Jiraiya may be a pervert, but he is one serious shinobi when it comes to dreams and goals. Naruto finally got up and asked his parents, "Can we start training?" All three of them nodded and they started. Minato started his training for the day and asked him to throw shuriken and kunai at the dummy for 30 minutes and saw he was not too bad in throwing. He showed Naruto to not threw it with full force and showed him a very basic shinobi skill that most ninjas never use. He took a shuriken from his pouch and flicked it with not much force, and the damage was more than when Naruto threw his. Naruto saw his father throwing the shuriken and was amazed by how easily it was rather than throwing it with force, and watched Minato throw the weapons with awe in his eyes. He then practiced his wrist movement with shadow clones, of course, and he managed to nail the shuriken jutsu with perfection, but still need practice on the speed of drawing kunai and throwing it at the opponent, since speed can beat strength. Then Minato applied gravity and resistance seals on his body and activated them to level 1. Naruto felt the seal pressuring him down like his body is getting smashed like a pancake, but it was minor. He started with 5 push-ups, sit-ups and jumping jacks, and Minato asked him to increase it by 5 every 2 weeks. He then ran around the training ground 5 times. He finished the exercise and was panting a little. His parents found out that he was both a stamina and a chakra monster, since he did it with 5 shadow clones behind him, and was just panting after all the muscle memory from the clones were sent to him. Kushina then started his Fuinjutsu and brought Naruto's Fuinjutsu kit, since he got it for his birthday when he turned 5. They started with Fuinjutsu theory, and then they started with basic storage and explosive seals, since his calligraphy was as good as Jiraiya's. Then it was Jiraiya's turn. Jiraiya summoned a toad, and inside the toad's mouth was a huge scroll. Jiraiya explained to him what the scroll would do, and he could summon toads. But then Kurama in Naruto's mindscape spoke. "Hey Kit, I have a much better summoning scroll." Naruto was now thinking whether he should take Kurama's or Jiraiya's summoning scroll. A second later he asked Jiraiya, "Jiraiya-sensei?" Kuranai said he has a better summoning scroll. At that Jiraiya frowned but thought, if Naruto has another summoning scroll he could probably teach it to the future generation. Jiraiya nodded and said, "You can use Kurama's summoning scroll." Naruto was excited and went into meditation. In Naruto's mindscape, Naruto appeared in the grasslands with Kurama sitting under the sakura tree and enjoying the sunshine. When he saw Naruto he said, "So you want to take my summoning scroll?" Naruto nodded and then Kurama took out a scroll which was as big as Jiraiya's and said, "Sign your name with your blood here and you will have the fox summoning scroll." Naruto nodded and did as he was told. Kurama then told him to go back to the world and summon the second best battle fox since Kurama was sealed in him. Naruto vanished from the mindscape and opened his eyes in the real world. In the Hokage's private training ground. Naruto opened his eyes and got up. He saw his parents and Jiraiya staring at him. Naruto smiled and nodded. Seeing the nod his parents and Jiraiya got what he meant and stepped back. Naruto bit his finger with blood coming out and performed the following hand seals: boar, dog, bird, monkey, ram, and slammed his palm on the ground adding chakra into his hand screaming, summoning jutsu. There was a big poof and there was white smoke everywhere. Once the smoke disappeared there was a blue fox with white ear tips. And 7 white-tipped tails swaying from side to side. The fox had blue sapphire eyes like Naruto and Minato have. The fox spoke. "Who summoned me?" Naruto on the fox's head went down to his snout near his eye so he can see him and spoke. "I have summoned you here. My name is Naruto Uzumaki and it's nice to meet you." The fox tried to sense any lie from the child but was surprised that the child didn't lie and actually had enough chakra to summon him without being winded. "The name's Arata and will you explain to me who gave you the scroll?" The fox now known as Arata asked. Naruto replied. "Kurai or Kurama the Ninetails gave me the scroll." Arata was surprised that the fox boss chose him as their summoner. And then he remembered when Kurama told him a potential person who will wield the fox summon. Is he the one? Arata thought. "I see." Arata started, "If boss chose you that means you are a worthy summoner. Remember that the foxes are the best at infiltration, espionage and are heavy attackers. It's an honor to meet you Naruto-sama." Now Naruto frowned at the sama part and said, "Enough of that Naruto-sama stuff. I don't like being treated like a lord. Because I am human as other people are, so just call me Naruto." Arata finally knew why did Kurama choose the child as a worthy summoner. The foxes never liked to bow to humans and this human just abandoned the post of ruling over the foxes and being an equal. He then gave a foxy grin and said, "I understand why did Kurama choose you. All the foxes will love to have you. Welcome to the Fox Clan, Naruto." And with that Arata bent down so Naruto can climb down his snout. Naruto smiled and nodded. Before Arata dispelled to the summoning realm he said, "I am the current boss summoned since Kurama has the title of Ninetails so only summon on difficult battles." Naruto nodded and Arata continued, "Summon another fox so he can be your familiar." Naruto bit his finger again, performed the same hand signs and slammed his palm on the ground screaming, summoning jutsu, and this time a white fox kit appeared with blue ear tips and a blue-tipped tail. The fox kit saw Arata and then Naruto and then the kit said, "Arata to-sama. Did you summon me?" Naruto realized that he just summoned Arata's fox kit. He looked at Arata and saw that he was grinning. "Naruto, it looks like you just summoned my kit," and then he laughed then turned to his kit and said, "Ishito-kun, meet Naruto, he is our new summoner and has summoned you." The kid now known as Ishito turned to Naruto and ran towards him yipping like crazy and said, "It's nice to meet you Naruto. My name is Ishito and we never had a summoner and I'm glad I am your familiar." Naruto smiled at the kid. He started scratching his ears and Ishito started purring. Arata saw this and said, "Ishito-kun," getting his attention, "why don't you play with Naruto and get to know him a little bit better?" Ishito nodded and jumped on Naruto's shoulder and wrapped himself around Naruto making him giggle. Arata dispelled and Ishito was talking with Naruto. The Namikaze couple and Jiraiya both smiled at how Naruto easily befriended the fox summoner. Minato and Kushina were even more proud that Naruto was one of them who Don't like honorifics but deal with it. They all came out and Minato spoke. Well, Naruto, looks like you got a pet. Ishito got startled but easily calmed down since Naruto told him they were his parents. He's not my pet, he's just my familiar unless he wants to be a pet. Ishito started yipping and said. I would love to be your pet. I just need permission from Tsunade. Naruto nodded and Jiraiya spoke. Well now. Let's go back home since training is over. You can do more practice if you want and I'll check your rinnegan at home. Naruto nodded. Before he left, Minato said, you can go down to the basement to pick out a taijutsu style but stay only in the taijutsu, history, and politics section. Naruto nodded since last time he survived because of Kurama, otherwise he would have spent days in the hospital. After that, Jiraiya, Naruto, and Ishito went to the Namikaze compound with Minato and Kushina going to the Hokage Tower for the council meeting. In the council meeting room. The meeting was in session with Hiruzen Sarutobi sitting in the former Hokage seat with Minato sitting in the Hokage seat. Everybody came including the kidnapper of the Hokage's son, Danzo Shimura. Minato started, alright. Before we start, I'd like to make an announcement. Everybody got curious as to what the announcement was. Minato continued. In the morning, roughly 4:30. Naruto almost got kidnapped. At that, everybody gasped including Hiruzen. Who would do such a thing as to kidnap the Hokage's son? Shikaku raised his hand and Minato gave him the opportunity to speak. Shikaku asked, do you know who the kidnapper is? Minato nodded. Danzo gritted his teeth inwardly but his face was stoic as ever. He couldn't believe his right-hand man had failed. Minato, seeing Danzo calm as a cucumber, meant silent before the storm. Minato then said something which made everybody bulge their eyes in surprise. Hiruzen was the only one who was smiling, seeing Danzo had been caught red-handed. He tried to get Danzo to stop his actions, but now he wasn't the Hokage anymore, so Danzo is gone and he deserved it. ANBU, 4 UMBU members came in from the ceiling, seized Danzo. The ANBU members slapped a chakra suppression and a paralysis seal on him. The council members and elders were looking for an explanation and Minato shouted, Danzo sent a root member to my house and tried to kidnap my son. The council members looked like Minato like he grew a second head. They thought Danzo would never do such a thing. Then Shikaku spoke. Hokage-sama, I thought Lord Third disbanded the root program. Everybody realized that he was right. Minato spoke, I thought so too, but the person who tried to kidnap my son had a mask with a kanji for root. Danzo then spoke. Do you have any proof that I did this? The others nodded while Minato smiled and said. Of course I do. I didn't seize if I didn't. He then pulled out a scroll and unsealed it and a body appeared with mask on the side of the body. Inoichi Yamanaka was shocked to say the least. He was furious since they knew exactly who he was. He shouted. Danzo, you bastard. Now I know who kidnapped Fu. Itsu. The others were shocked that Danzo kidnapped a Yamanaka. Danzo thought that Minato had destroyed him with the Rasengan so they wouldn't recognize him. But his body and face were completely unharmed with no blood on him. He gritted his teeth and shouted. So what? I did it to protect the leaf. The boy has potential. He has perfect chakra control. He can do the most complex jutsus. Root 10 Root Shinobi appeared and everybody was surprised when they heard what he said next, kill them all. Minato immediately took his Hiraishin kunai and flashed to all the root shinobi and killed them with a Rasengan each to the chest. Danzo underestimated Minato and now he had shown his true colors. Minato then shouted. Danzo, how low will you fall that you want to kidnap my own son as well and tried to kill all of us in the meeting room? I hereby declare Danzo Shimura to be executed for attempted kidnapping of Uzumaki Naruto and assassination of the entire council. I, Shibi Aburame, support the decision on behalf of the Aburame clan, Shibi said. I, Choza Akimichi support the decision on behalf of the Akimichi clan, Choza said. I, Hayashi Hyuga support the decision on behalf of the Hyuga clan, Hayashi said. I, Tsum Inazuka support the decision on behalf of the Inazuka clan, Tsum said. I, Shikaku Nara support the decision on behalf of the Nara clan, what a drag, Shikaku said. I, Biwako Sarutobi support the decision on behalf of the Sarutobi clan, Biwako said. I, Hiruzen Sarutobi support the decision, Hiruzen said. I, Obito Uchiha support the decision on behalf of the Uchiha clan, Obito said. I, Inoichi Yamanaka support the decision on behalf of the Yamanaka clan, Inoichi said. I, Sayuri Haruno support the decision, Sayuri said. I, Shibira Kyukoji support the decision, Shibira said. I, Tenchi Higurashi support the decision, Tenchi said. I, Tuchi Ichiraku support the decision, Tuchi said. I, Hamura Mitokado as one of the elders for the Hokage support the decision, Hamura said. I, Koharu Yudatane as one of the elders for the Hokage support the decision, Koharu said. I, Minato Namikaze the fourth Hokage and the Namikaze clan head declare Danzo Shimura to be executed as the majority of the council has voted. Umbu execute him, Minato said, and with that Danzo's head was chopped off and was burned since nobody will remember him. After that the ANBU took Danzo and cleaned the room. The meeting normal after that and the council meeting ended. Outside of the room Kushina was smirking at Minato as she was the ANBU who put the paralysis and chakra suppression seal and chopped off Danzo's head. She then said, "That went rather nice, didn't it?" Minato replied, "Yeah, it was. Thanks to Naruto we caught Danzo red-handed." Kushina nodded in agreement. Minato went to the Hokage office while Kushina went to the ANBU HQ at the Namikaze compound. Jiraiya, Naruto, and Ishido reached the Namikaze house. Ishido dispelled since he wanted permission from his father to be Naruto's pet since Ishido and Naruto both like each other a lot. Jiraiya and Naruto went down to the basement and they reached the library. Naruto sent 5 clones each to the section his father mentioned. 5 clones went to the history, while the other 5 went to the politics section. Naruto created another 10 clones and said, "Okay guys, let's find a good taijutsu style." The clones nodded and went to the taijutsu section. Jiraiya called him and gestured him to closer. Once Naruto did, Jiraiya started. "Okay Naruto, can you show me your rinnegan?" Naruto nodded and activated his eyes. Jiraiya then saw something different and said, "Hey Naruto, did you always have those tomos?" Naruto nodded and Jiraiya then asked him to create a clone with rinnegan activated. He did as he was told and started to feel dizzy. Jiraiya then said, "Try looking both sides." Naruto did and said, "Hey, I don't feel dizzy, it just looks like I have a full 360-degree vision." Jiraiya laughed at his words then said, "Try sending your clone to the second floor." Naruto watched as he could see 2 things at once. It was amazing. Naruto practiced with the rinnegan and shadow clone and got the hang of it. He will get dizzy if he used 11 or more shadow clones. An hour later he summoned Ishido and asked, "What did your dad say?" Ishido was excited and said, "He said yes." Naruto was very happy. He picked up Ishido who was happily yipping at him and was wagging his tail very fast. He put him on his shoulder and scratched his ears. And he seemed to like it a lot. Jiraiya saw this and chuckled at the duo. Then he saw Naruto stiffen. He put the yipping Ishido down and said, "My clones found a taijutsu style." Jiraiya nodded and another clone just came and gave him the scroll. Jiraiya opened and read the name of the style, Death Fist Style. The style is set to hit the most vital pressure points with precision and speed. The person who has mastered the Death Fists is said to kill a person with 1 finger. Jiraiya gulped. He never knew his student had this style and didn't learn it. He is sure that Naruto can master it since he shot kunai and shuriken with 95% accuracy and hitting most of the weapons in the head. He then calmed down and said, "This style requires knowledge on the human body. Are you sure about this?" Naruto nodded. Jiraiya then gave a thumbs up and said, "Alright Naruto, grab some books from the medical section related to human anatomy. I will inform your father about the books you have taken." Naruto nodded and created another few clones to find subjects related to human anatomy. Then he went back to Jiraiya and asked, "Can you teach me some elemental ninjutsu?" Jiraiya thought for a while before nodding and said, "Okay. But before we start, take this paper." Jiraiya held a square piece of paper and Naruto took it but got confused as to what he had to do with it. Jiraiya started, "That is chakra paper. It is paper from a tree who has grown with chakra and chakra only. With me so far?" Naruto nodded and he continued, "If you channel chakra in the paper you can know your elemental affinity." Naruto then asked, "How does elemental affinity do with anything?" "You just need to practice and you control the element. Right?" Jiraiya sighed. Naruto may be smart but sometimes Jiraiya doesn't know where that smartness goes. He then said, "An elemental affinity can help you master the jutsu from where the affinity is from faster since you have the knack for it. Such as, if the paper splits in half, you have wind element affinity. If your paper is wet or soggy you have the water element affinity. Same with earth. If your paper crumbles into dust. If the paper burns, you have the fire element affinity, and if the paper crumples, you have the lightning affinity." Naruto gave a silent "oh" since he finally understood. He then channeled chakra into the paper. What Jiraiya saw next made his eyes widen. Naruto's paper split into 4 pieces, one crumpled, one burnt, one crumbled into dust and the last one became wet. Naruto was confused as to what happened and looked at Jiraiya and asked, "Did I do something wrong?" Jiraiya shook his head and said, "You have 5 elements. I guess the rumors were true." Naruto then asked, "What rumors?" Jiraiya then answered, "It was said that a rinnegan bearer has mastery of all 5 elements." Naruto hearing that jumped up and down screaming, "Yay!" with, "I am the best." Ishito was laughing at him from the ground and Jiraiya was chuckling at the enthusiasm the blonde had. After some time the other clones got the human anatomy books and the clones at this history and politics section dispelled causing Naruto get a slight pain in the head. Jiraiya took the books from the clones and the trio went back to the living room. Chapter 6. 5 years after the Nine-Tails attack. Uchiha Compound. Mikoto Uchiha, the former clan heiress, was sleeping in her bed peacefully. She is a jonin of Konoha due to her not getting income as clan head anymore. She was a fair-skinned woman with long, straight black hair with bangs hanging on either side of her face to roughly frame her cheeks and black eyes. It was morning with the sun on the horizon. She got up, put on her brown blouse with her apron and started cooking for her 2 sons, Itachi and Sasuke. She was a widow now because her husband, Fugaku Uchiha, had left her. Why? Because she gave the position of clan head to her uncle's son, Obito Uchiha, because of his leadership. After he was almost killed by a boulder, he took rigorous training and activated the 3rd Tomo for his Sharingan. He studied strategy and unlocked his Mangekyo Sharingan when he almost stabbed Rin in the heart because of the fake news that the 3 tails unstable inside her, making her a ticking time bomb. He missed and Rin managed to live. He took on many stone shinobi alongside his sensei, Minato Namikaze, and got the title, the Ghost, since he can phase through any solid object. After Mikoto names him the successor. Fugaku started throwing tantrums about she and her sons being weak and left. His position was council member and still has luxury life. Before he left, he had made Mikoto give birth to Itachi. And she was pregnant with another child which was Sasuke. Fugaku filed a divorce against her and both never saw each other except on the streets. She was almost finished with breakfast when she heard a door slide open and close. She turned around to see a 11-year-old Itachi Uchiha. He had fair skin like his mother with black eyes and jet black hair that was pulled back in a low ponytail. His face was framed with center-parted bangs that extended to his upper jaw. He wore a started umbu uniform with arm guards, a flak jacket and a porcelain mask which resembled a weasel with a red triangular marking on top hanging on his waist. He had a black tanto strapped on his back and the leaf headband on his forehead. Mikoto smirked and said, "Itachi-kun, ready for your first mission in ANBU?" Itachi smiled and said, "Before I go, let me go wake up Sasuke." With that he went to the room beside his and opened the door, seeing Sasuke in a deep sleep. Itachi poked Sasuke in the forehead with his index and middle finger and said softly, "Good morning, Sasuke." Sasuke jerked and slowly opened his eyes with one hand rubbing his forehead where Itachi poked. Itachi spoke, "Come on, Sasuke, breakfast is ready." Sasuke nodded and Itachi left the room, giving Sasuke his privacy. A few minutes later Sasuke came out wearing a high-collared, gray, short-sleeved shirt with the Uchiha clan symbol embedded in the back and black shorts. He was fair-skinned, like rest of the family, with black eyes and spiky black hair. His long hair hung over his face like bangs. He ran to Itachi and said, "Ni-san, can you train me in Shuriken Jutsu today?" Itachi poked Sasuke in the forehead and said, "Sorry Sasuke, maybe another time." Sasuke then frowned and started to speak but was interrupted by Mikoto. "Sasuke, I will train you in your Shuriken Jutsu since I have some spare time. Now come and have you breakfast, Itachi has work today." Sasuke smiled and then nodded. After breakfast Mikoto trained Sasuke in Shuriken Jutsu. She then called out to Sasuke, "Hey Sasuke." She got his attention and continued, "I will have a mission today and Itachi isn't here to take care of you. I have to drop you at my friend's place. She also has a son who is the same age as you. You two might become friends." Sasuke got excited. He was finally going to get a friend. He nodded and Mikoto went to get ready. She came out with the same brown blouse with navy blue cargo pants. She had her Jonin vest on and the leaf headband on her forehead. Sasuke watched his mother in awe as to how awesome she looked without her apron. He spoke, "Wow, Ka-san, you look awesome." Mikoto giggled at her son's antics and then said, "Come on, let's go." Sasuke nodded and they both left the house via Shunshin. At the Namikaze house. "Ishido, Naruto, get up and have your breakfast," Kushina said. "No please," Naruto said while Ishido got up and stretched his arms and legs before he went to Naruto's ear and start nibbling it. "Ha ha 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 ha, my ear, ha ha ha, stop it, ha 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 ha, tickles." Naruto then jerked up, turned to Ishido who was rolling on the bed out of laughter and said, "You're mean, Ishido." Ishido grinned and replied, "Sorry, but we have to train Naruto. We need a strong summoner." Naruto sighed since he can't refuse it and got out of bed. He got ready and wore a green shirt with the Uzumaki symbol embedded in the back and white shorts. Ishido jumped on Naruto's head and they started walking downstairs. Naruto sat at the dining table while Ishido sat on the floor and both ate their breakfast. Naruto had pancakes while Ishido had his raw steak. Naruto then started his training. He made 5 shadow clones and ran around the house 50 times while doing 50 push-ups, sit-ups and jumping jacks with gravity and resistance seals to level 3 while Ishido was practicing the taijutsu style of the fox fist. After the exercise they both went back into the house and Naruto practiced on his Fuinjutsu while Ishido slept. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Ishido jumped on Naruto's head and Naruto ran to answer the door. When he opened it he saw Mikoto and a boy behind her. He then called out, "Mikoto Obasan? What are you doing here? And who is he?" Mikoto chuckled and asked rhetorically, "What, I can't meet my friend for once?" And who is that? Naruto looked down embarrassed about the point she made, then he replied, he is Ishido, my pet. Mikoto nodded. She pointed at Sasuke and said, anyways, this here is my son Sasuke. Sasuke waved slightly while Naruto waved back at him. Naruto then went to call his mother. Soon after, Kushina came to the front door with Naruto and said, Mikoto-chan, it's good to see you. She then looked at Sasuke and said, so this is Sasuke, he looks a lot like you. Not gonna lie. Mikoto giggled and then said, I came here to drop off Sasuke. It's okay, right? Kushina waved her hand in dismissal and said, your family is welcome here at any time. Then she looked at Naruto and said, Naruto, getting his attention before she continued, can you give Sasuke a tour of the house but not the basement? Naruto nodded and dragged Sasuke in the house with Ishido yipping, thinking he found a new friend. After Naruto gave Sasuke the tour, he sat down and asked, have you started training? Sasuke nodded and said, I learnt my clan's taijutsu style, fireball jutsu, and I just trained in shuriken jutsu. Naruto nodded then said, let's go to a training ground. Sasuke was excited. He finally found someone to train with. He nodded happily. They went downstairs. And Naruto went to his mother and asked, Ka-chan, can I go out with Sasuke? Kushina nodded but said, be sure to take Ishido and come back by 9:30. The duo nodded and ran out with Ishido at Hokage's private training ground. Once the trio arrived at the training ground, Sasuke sat down for a break, while Naruto and Ishido were just panting, but they sat nonetheless. Sasuke said, which training ground is this? It's humongous. Naruto chuckled and said, it's my Tsunade private training ground. Sasuke was shocked. He didn't see Naruto's Tsunade at his house. He asked, Naruto, where is your Tsunade? Naruto said, at the Hokage's office. Why? How do you know he's at the Hokage's office? Sasuke asked, still not getting the answer. Naruto then replied, because my Tsunade is the Hokage. Wait, did Sasuke hear correctly? Naruto's father was the fourth Hokage? To come to think of it, he looks a lot like him. Sasuke put it at the back of his mind and nodded. They started with push-ups, sit-ups and jumping jacks. Naruto did his 50 as usual like in the morning, while Sasuke managed to do 20. Naruto then ran around the field 25 times, while Sasuke did 2 since he was tired after the previous exercise. Sasuke asked, how did you do those exercises? Naruto then said, my mom calls me a stamina and chakra monster, which means I have a lot of stamina and chakra. Sasuke nodded then said, let's spar. Naruto nodded and they stood 10 feet away from each other. Naruto then picked up a leaf and said, as soon as the leaf lands, we start. Sasuke nodded and Naruto threw the leaf. Once the leaf landed, Naruto ran at full speed towards Sasuke, who was in the Uchiha Interceptor fist style. Naruto almost hit Sasuke's pressure point, but Sasuke dodged and ran towards him. Sasuke threw a uppercut which hit Naruto, but he blocked it. Naruto then leg sweeped, making Sasuke fall. He then hit the pressure point on Sasuke's neck, which made Sasuke paralyze. Sasuke was confused as to what happened. He then thought if this was a real ninja match he would have been dead. He asked Naruto, what happened to me? Naruto chuckled but said, sorry Sasuke. It was my taijutsu style. It deals with pressure points in your body. You need speed and precision for it to work. He then walked in front of Sasuke but stopped since he was surprised as to what he saw. He then said with surprise in his voice, Sasuke. Your eyes. Sasuke was confused as to what he meant. Then Naruto unparalyzed him and Naruto took him to a lake not too far. Ishido saw what happened and followed them. Sasuke looked at his reflection and saw his eyes weren't his usual normal. He had just unlocked his Sharingan with a tomo in one eye and 2 tomos in the second by just sparring with Naruto once. He smiled at Naruto while he said, congratulations Sasuke, you unlocked your Sharingan, thank you Naruto. I am forever grateful, Sasuke said and Naruto waved in dismissal and said, no need to thank me. That's what friends do. Help each other. Sasuke laughed and hugged Naruto while Ishido was yipping at them to come catch him. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other before they ran after Ishido. At 9:00 p.m. in Konoha, Naruto and Sasuke were walking back to the Namikaze compound with Ishido wrapped around Naruto's neck. Since they were chasing Ishido, they didn't notice the time spent until the sun started setting. It was dark with only the moonlight shining. They were passing the Hyuga compound when they saw a person with a hood jumping the wall with a bag. They thought he was a normal thief, so they decided to confront him with Sasuke saying, "Hey, you. Drop the bag and come with us." The person with the bag just laughed and said, "Like you brats are going to kill me or the fox will come and bite me. Since you have spotted me, I have no choice but to kill you." With that, Naruto, Ishido and Sasuke who activated his Sharingan. They all got into their fighting stances and were waiting for an attack. The person dropped the bag and said, "Oh, a Sharingan at that age? Maybe I'll kidnap you as well." Sasuke and the others got confused as to what he meant but let it go and waited for his attack. The man held a kunai and charged at the trio who split up. Naruto was in the middle, Sasuke was on the left and Ishido on the right. Naruto dodged the person's kunai and touched the neck pressure point, paralyzing the man. The same thing which he did on Sasuke. Ishido took the bag while Sasuke dealt a blow on the man's stomach, knocking him out. Naruto opened a bag and saw a girl with lavender hair, and he finally understood what he meant by kidnap. He took the girl out of the bag and was waiting for the girl to wake up. The girl woke up and Naruto saw pure white eyes. He understood she was a Hyuga. The Hyuga girl saw a blonde figure. She saw the man who kidnapped her then at the blonde's friend and his pet. She then started to cry into the blonde's chest. Naruto then said, "Hello, The girl said, *sniff star, Hinata, still crying." Naruto nodded and continued, "Hinata, meet my friend Sasuke and my pet Ishido. We were thinking if you would like to be friends." Hinata was surprised at this. After she was just kidnapped and was saved by people close to her age, she felt weak. She then said, "I am very weak. How would you be? Fr free friends with madame?" Naruto frowned and said, "You are not weak, Hinata. We just started training at an early age. Why don't you ask your Tsunade, he will help." Hinata nodded at that. Then Naruto, Sasuke hugged Hinata with Ishido purring near her leg. Hinata finally felt needed and not bullied by boys because of her eyes. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Anbu landed with Minato on one side of the roadway with the Hyuga clan head on the other side. They saw the shinobi knocked out with Naruto, Sasuke, and Ishido too busy in consoling the Hinata. Minato spoke up to get their attention. "Well, son, I am very proud of you. You helped in the village's security. You will receive a A-rank mission pay." He then looked at Sasuke and said, "You must be Sasuke." Sasuke nodded and Minato nodded and said, "You as well will receive a rank pay for saving the clan heiress." Now Naruto and Sasuke were surprised that they just saved a clan heiress. Hayashi then stood up and spoke in a stoic voice as usual. Naruto turned to him. Hayashi continued, "You have our thanks, and remember that the Hyuga clan will always be by your side." The other Hyuga members nodded in confirmation. Hayashi then turned to Sasuke and said, "Sasuke," getting Sasuke's attention. He spoke, "Remember the Hyuga clan will support you, and you only, since you saved the clan heiress. Even though we are rivals, we still show our thanks to those people who helped us." The other members nodded again. Suddenly, the hooded man woke up and screamed at the trio, "What did you do to me? Why can't I move? Naruto then got up and the others saw him walking to the man. He then pulled off the mask and everybody saw he was a lightning shinobi. Naruto then asked the shinobi, why did you want to kidnap Hinata and Sasuke? The shinobi scoffed, and yelled, like I would tell anything to you, brat. Naruto then poked both sides of his waist and legs. Suddenly, the shinobi's legs started bending backwards and the man was screaming since the pain was unbearable for anyone to stand. Once his bones stopped, Naruto said, your bones are in self-destruction mode. The bones will crack and collapse on themselves. Now speak. This time the man was scared since he could feel his bones breaking. He started crying and said, okay. I'll tell you. The third Raikage wanted the bloodlines so he can create them in Kumo. Please undo this. I don't want to die. It hurts. Naruto poked 2 pressure points in the back of the man and the bone retracted. The Anbu, Sasuke and the Hyuga clan head as well as the members were thinking as to what training Minato gave him. They didn't want to be on the bad side of Naruto, if Naruto made a lightning shinobi into a crybaby. Minato himself was surprised that his son learned the technique to the point he needs to poke 4 pressure points. Minato then spoke, you could be a head in the torture and interrogation department. Naruto smiled and said, I just did it because he tried to kidnap one of my friends. Otherwise I wouldn't be this harsh. Minato nodded then said, Anbu, seize the shinobi and take him to the Uchiha prison. The Anbu nodded and left. He turned to the Hayashi and said, take Hinata and make sure she gets rest. She had a rough night today. Hayashi nodded and left with the clan members. Finally he turned to the trio and said, come on, let's go home. The trio nodded and Minato flashed home with them. At the Namikaze compound. 10 p.m. Kushina had finished cooking dinner and she was waiting for Naruto and Sasuke. She asked them to come at 9:30 but they didn't. She was worried as to what happened. Suddenly, she heard a doorbell ring. She rushed ready to punch the duo for being late. She opened the door and saw the duo with Minato and yelled with her hair flying up. I told you to come before 9:30. What were you doing? And why did Minato bring you? All of them raised their hands up in surrender and Naruto spoke up. Ka-chan, we were coming back home when we saw a burglar coming out and carrying a bag from the Hyuga compound. We fought the person and found out he kidnapped Hinata, the Hyuga clan heiress. I tortured him and we found out that the third Raikage wanted the bloodlines of the Hyuga since the seal on all of the branch members' heads. They could only kidnap the main branch so he tried but we fought him and won. Minato came with his Anbu and the clan head came with the clan members. After a while, everybody left me, Ishido. Tsunade and Sasuke were left so he said he will teleport us home. Kushina went through a series of emotions through the explanation and finally she hugged Naruto and Sasuke. Thank God you guys are okay. I don't know what I would have done. Naruto and Sasuke hugged back. Then Kushina spoke again, now let's all go and have dinner. Minato, since you arrived as well, have your dinner then go back to the office. Minato smiled since he rarely had time to be home for dinner or lunch except weekends. They all went and had dinner. Chapter 7. At the Namikaze compound. Next day. After the Hyuga kidnapping incident. Naruto, Ishido and Sasuke had dinner with Minato, Kushina. Sasuke had to use the guest room since his Ka-san and Ni-san hadn't come back to pick him up. Next morning, Sasuke was woken up by the sun shining his face. He woke up and rubbed his eyes to get used to the light. He then went to the guest bathroom and washed his face. After he washed his face, he then went downstairs to see Minato and Kushina having breakfast with Minato having his coffee while Kushina having toast. Both of them saw Sasuke and greeted him, "Good morning Sasuke." Sasuke replied, "Good morning Hokage-sama, Uzumaki-sama." Both of them frowned, then Minato spoke. "I am not the Hokage when I am not in the office. Privately you can just call me Minato." Sasuke nodded and Kushina spoke. "Don't call me Uzumaki-sama as well, since you are my friend's child after all." She smiled while Sasuke nodded. The sound they hear came from Naruto's room. They rushed in Naruto's room and saw him rubbing the back of his head when Ishido spoke. "Naruto, you alright?" Naruto nodded and said, "Just a small nightmare, nothing too much except for the bump on the back of my head." Ishido just laughed, then saw Sasuke along with Naruto's parents. Sasuke then asked, "Ishido, how can you speak?" Ishido smirked and said, "I never spoke because you never asked me anything to speak about." Sasuke nodded, then Kushina spoke. "Looks like your nightmare woke you up at the right time, since Mikoto-chan just returned from her mission." She turned to Sasuke, still speaking, "She will pick you up anytime. Now." Sasuke smiled since he had never been without his mom this long before. Ding dong. They heard the doorbell ring. They assumed it was Sasuke's mom. Naruto opened the door while Sasuke was behind him to see the said raven-haired woman standing outside. They both called out, "Oba/Ka-chan," simultaneously while they ran and hugged her. Sasuke activated his Sharingan and spoke happily, "Ka-chan. Look, I unlocked it." Mikoto smiled, then glared at Kushina as to how he got it. Kushina started chuckling nervously and started explaining the situation yesterday. After the explanation, Mikoto hugged Sasuke and said, "Sasuke, I am so proud of you. You made 2 new friends, huh?" Sasuke nodded while smiling and said, "Thanks, Ka-chan." Mikoto then gave a thanks and left the Namikaze house. A few minutes later, after Sasuke left, Naruto and Ishido had their usual breakfast. Once they finished their breakfast, Minato spoke. "Naruto?" Said blonde turned to him. Minato continued, "Today I am taking you to the Hokage's office." That intrigued Naruto as he had widened his eyes since he had never been to the Hokage's office, and this was a lifetime opportunity. Minato, seeing his wide-eyed face, couldn't help but chuckle. Then he gestured Naruto to come to him. Once he came, Minato touched his shoulder, then they both hirishined to the Hokage Tower. At the Hokage Tower. The Hokage Tower was a huge orange tower which was surrounded by a huge wall with a wooden door guarded by Chunin. On top of the tower was an insignia which had the kanji for fire in red. The Hokage's office had a desk and a lot of papers and scrolls on it. On one side there were paintings from the first to the 4th Hokage hanging from the wall with a coat hanger. Near the 4th Hokage's picture, which had a white coat with red flames on the bottom. On the back of the coat was the kanji for 4th Hokage written on it. On the other side was 5-stack bookshelf containing of various different books and scrolls. Suddenly, there was a yellow flash in the middle of the room and out appeared Minato and Naruto. Naruto looked around the office with awe as he turned around to see his father's picture. "Whoa," was all that he could say. His eyes then glanced at the white coat, which looked awesome in every single way. Minato chuckled while walking to the coat and wore it. "Wow, Tsun. You look awesome," Naruto exclaimed. Minato smiled and ran his hand through Naruto's hair and said, "Thanks, Naruto. Now why don't you go and see one of those history books?" Naruto nodded and ran to the bookshelf and grabbed a book and sat down on the couch next to the bookshelf. The book said The Second Great Shinobi War, and Naruto started reading it. Few hours later, Naruto stopped in the middle of his book when he heard a knock on the Hokage's door. He heard a "enter" from Minato, and once the door opened, Naruto could see the 3rd Hokage walk in with his normal Kage robes but no Hokage hat. Naruto dropped his book on the couch and ran to the man, calling out, "Gigi," and hugged him. The 3rd chuckled as he turned to Minato and spoke, "I see you have brought young Naruto-kun to the office." Minato chuckled and replied, "He has to see his new office once he becomes Hokage." Might as well show it to him now. The third nodded while he saw Naruto breaking the hug. Naruto walked back to his book and picked it up. He then asked, "Hey Gigi? Could you explain me a few questions about the Second Great Shinobi War?" Hiruzen nodded but got confused and asked, "Why didn't you ask your father since he was here?" Naruto then looked at his Tsunade but couldn't see him behind the paperwork except for the blonde hair, then pointed at the paperwork and said, "I don't want to trouble to Tsunade, he has a lot of work." Hiruzen chuckled while Minato groaned, thinking why did he even take this job in the first place. Hiruzen then sat down next to Naruto on the couch and asked, "What answer would you like to know about the Second Great Shinobi War?" Naruto then pointed at a man with white hair and dark eyes and asked, "Who was Tsukumo Hatake, Gigi?" "He has the same hair and surname as Kaka and I." Hiruzen smiled and answered, "That was Konoha's White Fanged. And he was Kakashi's father. He was said to overpower the three legendary Sannin and could defeat them." Naruto's eyes went wide and asked, "Then how did he die, Gigi? If he could defeat my Kyofu, Tsunade, and Orochimaru at the same time, how is it said that he died but no one know? How?" Hiruzen then looked down and said, "Because he had committed suicide." Naruto gasped in shock and asked, "Why would he do that, Gigi?" Hiruzen then took a deep breath and asked, "Naruto, what would you choose? Save a comrade's life and fail the mission, or succeed the mission and sacrifice your comrades?" Naruto was shocked at the question but answered nonetheless. He said, "Would save the comrade and fail the mission because lives matter the most." Minato heard what he said and couldn't feel anything except to be proud of his son. Hiruzen chuckled sadly and said, "That's exactly what he did, but the village scorned him for failing the mission. Even the comrades he saved just looked away with disgust. In result, he couldn't take the hate and died." Naruto was surprised that even the comrades had hated him. He asked, "Why? Why did they hate him for failing a mission?" Hiruzen didn't say anything. He knew what Naruto meant but didn't know what to say. Naruto continued, "Everybody fails missions from time to time. Why was he hated for the same reason? Kaka and Obito and I said that those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. In this case, his comrades were even lower than scum since they abandoned Kaka and I's Tsunade after saving their lives." Hiruzen gave a sad smile and said, "Spoken like a true comrade, Naruto-kun." Naruto smiled while Hiruzen thought, "You have no idea how right you are. The will of fire burns bright in you." A few hours later, it was almost evening and Naruto saw many people come and go by while talking with Hiruzen from time to time. He saw an Anbu with a cat mask and purple hair, a youth screaming "Might Guy," which made Naruto cover his ears, a raven-haired girl with red eyes and a red mesh armor blouse named Kurenai Yuhi, and another friendly Uchiha named Shursui. Naruto saw the stack of paperwork increased even more since he couldn't even see the blonde hair. He had to ask since he didn't understand Tsunade. "Yes, Naruto?" Minato replied. Naruto then ran behind the desk to talk to him face to face. "Why don't you use shadow clones for your paperwork?" Minato and Hiruzen were surprised. How come they hadn't thought of that? They, the prodigies, the youngest Hokages, had not thought of that. Hiruzen and Minato then got up and banged their heads at the same wall side to side mumbling, "Stupid, stupid, stupid." Minato then created shadow clones, then went to Naruto, who was laughing on the ground at their shocked faces. Hiruzen and Minato couldn't believe they were outdone by a 5-year-old. Minato then dismissed Hiruzen, who was happy since he is going to try the shadow clones on the weekend. Minato then picked up Naruto and flashed back to the compound. At the Namikaze compound, Kushina was making ramen for herself since she knew that Naruto and Minato were coming back late. Before she started eating it, she heard the doorbell ring. She ran to answer it. Once she opened the door, she saw Minato, who was carrying Naruto on his arm. She then asked. Minato, you're back home already? Naruto snickered and Minato looked down in embarrassment. After a second, Naruto answered, Ka-chan, you see Tsunade comes late because of paperwork. Today I asked him why doesn't he use shadow clones since I didn't really know why he was late. Turns out he does everything by himself. He started banging himself near the wall with Gigi since they both didn't know. Kushina couldn't help but laugh after Naruto explained, leaving a red, embarrassed blonde groan telling them to get over with it. Kushina then calmed down and gestured them to come inside and she started making more ramen. After they had their dinner, Minato then asked, Naruto, how would you like to get your hands on another jutsu? Since you helped me out with paperwork, I thought I might repay the favor. I will teach you the jutsu tomorrow. Since it's already night time, Naruto started jumping up and down, then ran towards the basement and opened it. He ran to the barrier ninjutsu section since he hasn't touched that subject. He went to the A-rank section and pulled out a scroll which he had eyed on for a while. When he had been here a couple of times, he went back upstairs and showed it to Minato. Minato looked at it and he smiled. Barrier ninjutsu, huh? Seeing that Naruto nodded, he opened the scroll and smirked. The 4 Violet Flames formation. Barrier is made of purple flames, which will instantly engulf those who come into contact with it, thus preventing anyone from entering or leaving the area. Can be destroyed with S-rank nature/chakra transformation range ninjutsu. Needs constant chakra to maintain. He then frowned and said, Naruto, this requires 4 people though. Naruto shrugged and said, I can use my shadow clones. Minato was shocked that how shadow clones could be used. He hadn't even thought of that. He smiled while ruffling Naruto's hair and said, I'm proud of you, Naruto. Naruto smiled and the praise and went to go to sleep since he was tired. 1 year later, at the Namikaze compound. Naruto, I am taking you with me. A now 6-year-old Naruto perked at that. Why's that, Ka-chan? Kushina then said something which made his eyes bulge out. We're going to find Tsunade-chan. Naruto then jumped at that since he was finally going to meet another legendary Sannin other than his Kyofu. He then said, let's go. Kushina watched the blonde sunshine and giggled. She then put a hand on Naruto and they both shunshined to the village gate since Kushina had already stored Naruto's stuff in a sealing scroll. 1 day later, at Tenzaku-gai. Tenzaku-gai has one of the best casinos in town. It was popular since it had bettings from 1,000 ryo to 1 billion ryo. A woman with blonde hair had just lost in blackjack and was walking to a sake shop. Behind her was her niece. She had black hair and eyes. She just turned 21 last month and was carrying the blonde's luggage. The blonde woman was in her depression until she saw a familiar red head walking up to her. Kushina-chan? The woman asked her while Shizen smiled. Tsunade-chan, Shizen-chan. It's good to see you, Kushina said, and they all hugged each other. Once they broke the hug, Tsunade saw the blonde-hair boy behind her and asked her, who is this boy? He looks like Minato. Kushina chuckled and said, he's my son. Son? Tsunade said while Shizen was in shock. Kushina then nodded with a Tsunade continued, why are you here? You must be here for a reason. Kushina then smirked and said, yes, Tsunade-chan, we want you to come with us to the Hidden Leaf. It's about Hitomi. Tsunade went serious with worry in her eyes and asked, what's wrong with Hitomi-chan? Kushina gave a sad smile and continued, Hitomi-chan is suffering from bloodline cancer and will die soon. No medic can cure it, hence, I have come for your help. Tsunade was in shock when she heard what Hitomi had. Naruto heard what his mother had said but kept quiet. Inside he was feeling sad for Hinata's mother. She then gave Kushina a sad smile and said, you know that village has taken everything from me. That Danzo son of a bitch had created a suicide mission for my close ones. She spoke Danzo with venom in her voice. When she had tried to get evidence about Danzo confessing that he had assigned the missions, she failed and had given in to her emotions, making her leave the village. She then thought about Nawaki and Dan, her brother and fiancé. She then continued, I won't come back until that bastard is paid for his crimes. Kushina then grinned and said, oh, didn't you hear the news? Tsunade got confused at what she meant. She shook her head and Kushina continued, Danzo was executed for kidnapping Naruto. He sent a root agent and Naruto beat the agent when he was 5. If it wasn't for Naruto, Danzo would probably be alive right now. Tsunade was shocked at what she had heard. She looked at the fellow blonde who was embarrassed because of the praise. Then she hugged him and started crying while murmuring, thank you, continuously. Naruto couldn't do anything but hug her back since the man who had tried to kidnap him had done such horrible things before. After a while Tsunade calmed and said, I'm coming with you. She turned to Shizen and said, let's go Shizen. With that they left Tanzakugai and walked back to Konoha. One day later. At the Konoha gates. Checkmate, a guy with black hair and a strip of bandage running across the bridge of his nose said. Come on Kotetsu, you definitely cheated. This time a guy with brown hair and dark eyes while his hair is combed down and always covers his right eye said. You're jealous Izumo that I beat you? Kotetsu said, making Izumo scoff and reply. No, next time I'll definitely win. They heard people walking to the front gate and both of them were ready to sign them in. Once they walked through, Izumo spoke. Name? Kushina Uzumaki, with Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze signing in with Tsunade Senju and Tsunade's apprentice Shizun. Kushina spoke. Both of them were wide-eyed hearing Tsunade's name and both started sputtering, Tsu, Tsunade-sama, welcome back to the V village. Tsunade nodded, waiting for them to sign them in. After they signed the said group went to the Hyuga compound. At the Hyuga compound, Hayashi was in his study working on his paperwork while worrying about the promise that Kushina made. If Kushina made a promise she would fulfill it no matter what, but he was a little nervous. Flashback no Jutsu wish. Hayashi-sama, Uzumaki-sama is at the gate. One of front gate bodyguards spoke. Hayashi gave them a nod to let her in. A few minutes later Kushina opened the door and walked in. Her face was serious and she started speaking. Hayashi Dano, how is Hitomi-chan doing? Hayashi sighed and said. She just started getting pain in her eyes if she uses the Byakugan for too long. Kushina gave a nod and said. I'm ready to go and retrieve Tsunade. Hayashi was shocked. He had remembered the day she said she will bring Tsunade to the village. Hayashi gave a nod and said, thank you for helping my wife Uzumaki Dano. Kushina gave a slight nod and left. End flashback. He then heard a knock on the door. He gave a grunt gesturing the person to come in. One of the Hyuga bodyguards came in and reported. Hyuga-sama, Uzumaki-sama has arrived with Naruto-sama, Tsunade-sama and Tsunade's apprentice. Hayashi nodded, asking him to bring them in. Inwardly he was smiling. Thank you, Kushina Dano, he thought, waiting for them to come in. As soon as the group entered Hayashi's study, Kushina turned to Naruto and said, Naruto, go and play with Hinata while we talk. Naruto looked at Hayashi. Seeing he nodded, Naruto ran to Hinata's room, leaving them to their talks. Hayashi spoke, I thank you for coming Tsunade Dano. Tsunade shook her head in dismissal and said. The pleasure is all mine, Hayashi Dano. Now should we kindly go to Hitomi-chan? Hayashi gave a nod as he got up and all of them went to Hitomi's room. He knocked on the door. And when they heard a, come in, from the other side, Hayashi opened the door and they all went in. Hitomi, when she saw Tsunade-sama, she turned to Kushina and said, thank you Kushina-chan for bringing Tsunade. Kushina just smiled and said, anything for a friend. Tsunade then gestured Hitomi to lie down on a futon and turned to the three and said, Kushina-chan, Hayashi Dano, please stay outside. Shizen stay with me, all of them. Nodded. Kushina and Hayashi left while Shizen stayed. A few minutes later Tsunade walked out with a stern face and said to Hayashi and Kushina, Hitomi-chan is in her stage 2 cancer. She will be fine and be able to see, but she will lose the ability of the Byakugan. Unless you transplant another Byakugan. She turned to Hayashi and asked, Hayashi, you didn't tell me she was pregnant? Kushina also glared at Hayashi, who stoically said, I was about to inform Kushina, but I forgot about it because of the paperwork. She was pregnant 3 months ago and the Hyuga medics said that she will have the baby soon, in a week or 2. Tsunade, still glaring, said, Hayashi, if I didn't come, Hitomi could have died giving birth. That alone made Hayashi wince that he was going to drag Hitomi to her death. He nodded so that he understood, and Tsunade can conduct the surgery without the eyes. He didn't care that Hitomi didn't have the Byakugan abilities. He just wanted her to see. Tsunade nodded back and went back into the room to conduct the surgery. 2 hours later, Kushina and Hayashi were waiting outside of Hitomi's room anxiously for Tsunade to come out and give the good news. Naruto and Hinata had just come and Kushina told them about Hitomi's condition. Naruto already knew since he heard the conversation with Tsunade. Hinata was surprised and happy that her Ka-chan will live. She started crying and thanked Kushina for her help. They heard the door slide with Tsunade smiling as she said, the surgery is completed and Hitomi-chan is resting to recover her chakra. Hayashi was so glad that he left his stoic personality and smiling. Wait, Hayashi was smiling? Is the world ending? Hayashi never genuinely smiled, but today was the first time people saw him smile. He then walked to Tsunade and said, thank you for saving my wife's life. Tsunade smiled and said, I will help Hitomi-chan with my life. Hayashi gave a nod, seeing she actually did. The 4 adults watched Naruto, who was hugging a very mad blushing Hinata. Seeing Naruto was oblivious to the girl's obvious crush on him made everyone laugh. When Hinata fainted, he paled while he looked at Hayashi, who was still smiling, making Naruto shiver since Naruto thought he looked creepy with a smile. He picked Hinata up and excused himself to go and drop Hinata at her room. They nodded, and Naruto, his face still pale since he wasn't sure if it was him or an accident. Once he came back, he and Kushina left with Tsunade and Shizun, and they all walked to the Hokage Tower. At the Hokage Tower, Minato Namikaze was finally happy after his genius son figured out how to beat the damned paperwork. He was on the Hokage reading a scroll until he heard a knock on the door. Come in, was Minato's response, rolling up the scroll and putting it on the couch. The door opened and he grinned when he saw the group walk in. He then spoke. I take it the mission was a success. Naruto gave his father a thumbs up and said, yes, we did. Believe it too, San. Minato smiled and then turned to Tsunade and said, Tsunade, you are in charge of the medical department and the council has decided to implement your idea of putting a medic nin on each genin team. Tsunade was shocked that her plan was evidently decided. She smiled and said, thank you, Hokage-sama. I promise I will do my best. Thank you for watching the video, and comment down below if you want to see the next part. And of course, like, subscribe and turn on post notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.